Welcome into LBTV3, Laverne Community Television. Hal Hargrave alongside Billy Lopez giving you the call to action here today at Campus West. We are at Ben Hines Field for SCIAC Baseball between the University of Laverne Leopards and the Occidental Tigers. Billy, coming off a 5-2 loss yesterday, the University of Laverne Leopards look to bounce back and hope to rally behind a good performance today of Devin Burhans. Why don't we recap yesterday? It was a tough one for the Leopards on the road at Occidental.
Yeah, it definitely was a tough one. You rarely see Laverne get 2 hit in a game, and Nolan McCarthy for Occidental was absolutely dealing. Laverne got 2 runs off of him despite only 2 hits, but not enough offense. And a team that has been scoring a plethora of runs. You look at their last 10 games, they're averaging around 10 runs a game. They scored 20 a couple of weeks ago right here at Ben Hines Field. So this is an offensive potent team that got shut down last night.
And give credit to where credit's due. Nolan McCarthy yesterday, the dude deal. And this is an All-American we're talking about too. McCarthy, top of SCIAC in ERA, and he went head-to-head with Cody Norman yesterday, which this guy is no slouch. He came in yesterday at 1.63 ERA. He bounced down to a 2.3 ERA after giving up 5 runs on 12 hits yesterday. Norman, their Friday guy, the guy can deal, and he got brought into this program as a shortstop. He stepped up in a big way, and he's filled the role of being the Friday guy, but now today, a transfer from Sac City and Devin Burhans. Talk a bit about him and what he's going to have to bring to the table today.
Yeah, Burhans was looking more out of relief early on this year, but then needed to expand his role. He's going to be his 5th start today. He's 5-1 win-loss record, and in his last start, he showed that he could go the distance. He went the complete game, got the win, and Laverne has won all 4 starts that Burhans has started. So Laverne's looking good with the righty.
And if you're looking at Occidental, and if you were to circle anything on the stat sheet yesterday that jumps out to you as a negative, 3 errors. They're going to have to clean that up today. And on the road at Ben Hines Field, mind you, they're not going to have the benefit of the added power that they get at home in a small ballpark at Occidental. That's really about 380 in dead center. Here, you're talking major league size field, but you also got a pitcher in Diego Ramirez who you can rely on too. This freshman, this kid's legit.
Oh, yeah, 6-2, 2.48 ERA. His last start shut down Caltech, 7 innings, only 2 hits, no runs. You mentioned the errors yesterday by Occidental. Laverne puts the ball in play well. They have the least amount of strikeouts in all of SCIAC. They make the team play defense, and if they could do that once more again today, Occidental's going to have to make the play defensively.
And so you look at these 2 pitchers today, and these guys are no slouch. We talked about Ramirez, we talked about Burhans, but Burhans just last week, he went CG on the road at Redlands. This is a guy that's come in, and ever since the Caltech series, he's really come into his own and established himself as the number 2 guy on this staff. But looking at Occidental, this is the team that leads SCIAC with 27 home runs. So this team can put the ball in play, and they can hit the ball far.
Oh, yeah. You look at their lineup top to bottom, 8 of 9 of these hitters have at least 1 home run. You look at the cleanup hitter, Branchew, 6 home runs leading the team. Andrade last night against Laverne picked up his first homer. And not only can they hit the ball out of the park, Hal, they can also swipe the base and put pressure on Adam Santa Cruz behind the plate. 8 of 9 have stolen bases this season.
Well, Laverne's really going to have to rely on Santa Cruz, Liggett, and Perez in the middle of the order like they've done much of this season. Those guys seem to carry the load, but they've also got a cast of players behind them that can help them get the job done. We look at SCIAC standings now, and we're talking about a pivotal nature to this season going on right now. This weekend, you look at Occidental and Laverne at 2-3 right there at 11-5 and 10-6. This is a big swing series as we head into next weekend where Laverne will then play CMS.
Yeah, and it's which team wins today is going to put themselves in a good position to potentially win this conference this season.
And we're going to step aside really quick for the national anthem. We'll be back to you with more stats as we lead up to the first pitch of today's game.
Here we go, fellas.
Thank you. Welcome to the University of Laverne.
A rendition of the national anthem is now done, and we look to Adam Santa Cruz, a guy we've got to watch today, batting .395 on the season with 47 hits, 41 RBIs, first in SCIAC. This guy is really getting the job done behind the plate and in the batter's box for the Leopards.
Yeah, and look for him to continue his potent hitting, but also let's see how he limits the run game of Occidental. Laverne has allowed the fewest stolen bases this season, and Santa Cruz is a huge part of that reason.
Well, Santa Cruz behind the plate, it's going to have to be him and Burhands on the mound today. I had a chance to talk to Burhands prior to today's game, and he really entrusts Santa Cruz to make the right decisions behind the plate. And that's good when you're talking about a JC transfer coming in and really establishing good rapport with his players and fellow teammates. Chris Perez, this guy, he's been around for a couple of years now, and we know what he can do as a versatility type player, but he also gets it done in the DH role.
Oh, yeah, Perez just a monster, and look for him to come out if the game's close late in the game to shut it down.
Well, we talked about him earlier, but also Chris Liggett. And he's getting it done as well with .356 batting average on the season, 22 RBIs. He's a scrappy little player, this guy.
Yeah, this senior's having a tremendous senior campaign, and look for him to lead the role today.
Between those three guys and who's going to get it done on the mound, Devin Burhands, talked a bit about him in the opener, 5-1 on the season, a 2.54 ERA. He's leading the team in innings pitched. And so this guy, he's really come up and been a big horse for them. And when you can do that in game 2 of a series and limit the use of your bullpen, that is good signs to come when you're talking about getting guys in the right position when need be. Reed Gibbs. Now we move over to the Occidental side of things. This shortstop batting .423 in SCIAC. This guy just simply puts the ball in play.
Yeah, and 17 stolen bases, only second to Galan on Laverne with 21. So this guy gets on base, and he turns a single into a double real quick.
And that's where Santa Cruz is going to have to be good behind the plate, and he's also going to have to deal with another guy, Jacob Fredrickson, batting .365 on the season. From top to bottom, this is a potent offense we're talking about in the Occidental
look at
Tigers.
the home runs that he's had, the RBIs that he's driven in. He's a tremendous player for Occidental.
And Fredrickson's been good even since his younger years in SCIAC play, and also Michael Ingram, another infielder for them. These guys seem to be right in the thick of things in all stat categories, and he's among the best of them, batting .346 on the season.
Yeah, and he hits towards the tail end of the lineup, .346 around the 6-7 spot. That just shows you how good and deep this lineup is.
And when you got a deep lineup complemented with young talent and Diego Ramirez, who's 6-2 on the season, things are looking up for the Occidental Tigers. They are 4-3 on the road this season, and we look at these teams head-to-head, 23-9, both of these teams heading into today's game. And don't think for a second that that's not going to be important come Judgment Day. When ultimately, last year we look back, this Laverne team missed out on going to regionals. Trinity ends up getting the bid over Laverne. I talked to Byrne prior to today's game, and he thinks that that magic number this year is going to be 30 in terms of wins if they're going to get an at-large bid and not outright win the postseason tournament. So big matchup today.
And 30 is still a possibility for this Laverne club, but they need to pick up 2 huge wins, starting with this one right now.
Laverne 10-6 coming in SCIAC play. Occidental 11-5. First pitch is underway here. 11:02 start at Ben Hines Field, Campus West, University of Laverne. Burhands on the mound, working out of the stretch. A fastball on the outer side of the plate, called for strike 2, pounding the zone. This Burhands kid, he's going to work low and away. He's going to pound the zone, and he told me he really relies on that fastball that really will run away from a left-handed hitter. We'll see if he goes to it here on an 0-2 count. He does, low and away. 1-2 your count. Nobody on, nobody out, top of the first here. Alongside Billy Lopez, Hal Hargrave in the building. We're excited. It's the thick of SCIAC baseball season. And this one punched up to right field. Should be a can of corn for the right fielder. Hauled in for an out. 1 out here in the top of the first.
Yeah, look for Burhands can continue to pound the zone. Mentioned that he got the complete game in his last start. He eats up innings for this Laverne team, and it's because he does not walk a lot of batters. Only 5 walks in 50 innings pitched this season. He controls that strike zone.
You can go every 10 innings and only give up 1 walk. Things are looking up for you. But look at Burhands just last week. We talked about a 9-inning CG, 8 hits, 2 runs. This guy knows how to pound the zone, and he knows how to rely on his team for good defense behind him. When you guys Got guys like Liggett and Benson. Seaford, I mean, my gosh. Life would feel pretty good, not to mention when you play in a ballpark that's this big. You know the ball's going to stay in the yard more times than not, so rely on your team behind you. When you got Santa Cruz behind the plate, completing the battery, things are looking good. 1-1 your count, 1 out, nobody on, top of the first. This is LVTV3, Laverne Community Television, Skyac Baseball. Burhan's up. 2 balls, 1 strike.
And Gibbs now with the count in his favor, 2-1. 420 average, leads all of Skyac in that category.
Not bad coming out of the 2-hole for Occidental. Top to bottom, these guys put it in play, and this one punched to center field. Should be another fly ball out. Center fielder tracking it in and hauling it in for the out.
A couple of flyouts, use the spacious outfield to your advantage. You look at Shiota in center, Perez in right, and Liggett in left. All of them can run down deep fly balls.
Shiota hauling it in for out number 2. And Fredrickson here over to the first base side, PFP, and they are going to field, and they're going to call him safe. They're going to say Burhan's pulled off the bag. It was a tough play over at first base. The ball kind of came up and ate Seaford over at first base, up in his chest, and he tried to shovel pass it over to Burhans. Burhans was outstretched, his foot pulled away off the bag at the last minute, so Fredrickson, by virtue of the air, going to be on first base. 2 outs, 1 on. Burhan's going to check over on first base. And Fredrickson diving back, he's safe. Jack Brancho, senior out of Scottsdale, Arizona. And Burhan's goes up and in for a ball. 1-0 your count.
Brancho leads Occidental with 6 bombs this year, but a very deep ballpark to do that here at Ben Hines.
Fredrickson about 9 feet off the bag over at first base. Burhan's pounding the zone. 1-1 your count as he catches the outer edge. 2 outs, 1 on. Brancho in the box, the right-handed hitter. Leading the team in home runs. The Tigers leading Skyac in home runs with 27 in this one. Shovel passed over from second to the shortstop. We got the final out of the first at the end of the top of the first. 0-0 your score. This has been Skyac Baseball on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. Billy, like what I saw out of Burhan's pounding the zone. An error there by the first baseman, but Laverne recovers well.
Yeah, a couple of lazy fly balls to right field and center field, a couple of ground balls, one that should have been caught at the first base from Siffert. Galan at second, cleaned it up next. Shovel pass over to shortstop to end it. No harm, no foul, and we're going to the bottom of the first.
We look at Ramirez coming out to the mound, and this is the Occidental team that one might argue maybe a bit underachieved last year. 11-13, they missed postseason by 1 game. But under Luke Wetmore, he's coming into his 8th season now. He's won a conference title for them. This is a team that's looking to be back at the top again, and they got the tools to do it.
Yeah, they won conference in 2016. They just missed being that 4th seed by 1 game last year, and they're looking to win their 2nd conference in 4 seasons. They got a great ERA staff at 3.29, 3rd in all of Skyac, and this guy right here, Diego Ramirez, a freshman for this Occidental Ball Club, is leading the way with 2.48 ERA, 6-2 win-loss.
Well, when you got a guy like this to complement McCarthy, things are looking really good for your team, even beyond the horizon into next season and beyond. And so when you have Ramirez who can come in as a freshman and step into this type of role, that's got to make you feel really good if you're Coach Wetmore.
It'll be interesting to see how he attacks a lineup like Laverne. Laverne, one of the top offensive teams in all of Skyac, and you look at batting average, hits, and RBIs. So we'll see how he goes about facing this Leopards lineup today.
This Leopards lineup, no slouch, but when you talk about guys like Michaels and Jacob Thomas, who graduated last year, some thump in the middle of the order, you'd think, well, how are you going to recover? And they've done it. They haven't done it with the long ball, but they've done it with putting the ball in play, and they've done it from having a continuity from top to bottom in the order.
Yeah, you look at cutting down on strikeouts, the least strikeouts in all of SCIAC. Put the ball in play, make the defense work a little bit. Not only that, but you're going to shoot the gaps here at Ben Hines Field. A spacious ballpark. You're not going to get the long ball going, but you can go gap to gap and get on base and drive in runs really easily.
And you can drive in runs when you got a guy like Galan who can get on the bags and he can scoot. I mean, he leads SCIAC in stolen bases. This guy is legit at the top of the order. You got Siffert behind him. And this really is the Scott Winterburn way. You get on base, you play small ball, you don't swing at bad pitches, and you don't strike out. I mean, this is something in his 19-year tenure here at the University of Laverne has become long-standing in terms of their culture. Galan in the batter's box, bottom of the first. Ramirez in on the plate, strike from Ramirez. 0-1 your count, nobody on, nobody out. Bottom of the first, 0-0 your score here on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. Siffert on deck for the Leopards. Ramirez working out of the windup. And this one punched off the screen. 0-2 the count.
Galan down 0-2, but he doesn't short up that swing. He's going to go out there and still battle.
This one punched down the right field line, about 10 feet foul. Fredrickson over at first base for Occidental. Playing close to the line for a righty. But Galan proving he can hit to all parts of the field. Ramirez out of the windup. Galan, that's going to be a base hit. Will he see two? This kid's got wheels. He's going to hold up as he rounds first. And this one hauled in by the Occidental second baseman. So 1 on, nobody out for the Leopards. Do you expect to see Galan steal here?
You know, you might put him in some type of action. With a good pitching duel, Ramirez and Burhands today, runs are going to be, you know, costly today, so might have Galan moving.
When you got a guy like Adam Santa Cruz on deck, it's going to be a really good indicator here to see if you're going to go to bunt. Siffert, and they show bunt here. Pull back, stolen bag. They're going to call him safe, and he barely got under the tag there. But Galan added to the stat sheet. This kid is racking them up this season, #1 in SCIAC in steals. And now you're feeling pretty good if you're Scott Winterburn. You got a guy on second base with no outs and your 2-hole hitter up in Siffert.
Yeah, and that's number 22 for Galan on this season. And Scott Winterburn still likes to play small ball here, even though there's a guy in scoring position.
Freshman Siffert up for Laverne. Galan on second base. This one punched up the middle, and they're going to double off Galan. What a diving stop by the Occidental shortstop, coming up big, and then shovel passing it over to second base. And that's a tough play if you're Galan. That ball looks like it's a foot off the ground. You think this is for sure getting up the middle, and you're scoring. But clearly Occidental has different ideas, and what a great feeling for Luke Wetmore and this Occidental team.
A tough break for Laverne, but Occidental, you mentioned 3 errors yesterday. Tremendous play defensively right there.
Incredible job. Might see it on SportsCenter later, Web Gems. Now we got Adam Santa Cruz at the plate. Chris Perez on deck, and this one on the outer third called for a strike. The fastball off the hand of Ramirez, 0-1 your count with 2 outs, nobody on.
Santa Cruz, the reigning SCIAC hitter of the week, the second time that he's gotten that this season.
I'm going to say that got the shin of Santa Cruz, and they're going to actually give him first base. Santa Cruz looked back like, wait, are you going to give me the bag or what? And I guess they'll say that he rolled away from it.
Interesting thing with this Laverne lineup, 2 outs doesn't necessarily mean that any damage can happen. We've seen 2-out rallies all season long, and it starts right there with a hit by pitch. Perez on deck, or now in the batter's box, Shiota on deck, but this team just continues to hit.
How good do you feel if you're Adam Santa Cruz? You're batting .395 on the season, and you got a bit of protection behind you with .377 batting behind you and Chris Perez.
Yeah, and you look at Santa Cruz last year as a junior with Laverne, .409 average.
Paris going to see a slider on the first pitch called strike. Ramirez showing good command here for the Occidental Tigers in the first inning here at Ben Hines Field. 0-1 the count, 2 outs, 1 on. 0-0 your score. Chiodo on deck for the Leopards. Paris, the utility player. Also the DH for the Leopards. This one hit to the right side. Second baseman going to stay down on it. And they'll go 4-3 for the out. The bottom of the first here on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. 0-0 your score between the Occidental Tigers and the University of Laverne Leopards as Burhans trots back out to the mound for inning number 2.
At a solid first, looking for a solid second. He's going to face 5, 6, and 7. Andrade is going to be the first batter to lead off, who went deep against Laverne yesterday off of Cody Norman. So look for Occidental to try to get things going here offensively. Burhan's going to try to do the same thing, pound the zone and get quick outs.
Andrade, the lone home run yesterday for the Occidental Tigers, but really is just what they needed in a 5-2 victory. And any runs you can get off Cody Norman are going to be a dime a dozen, but when you can go out and do that and complement that with 5 runs with McCarthy on the mound, odds are you're going to have a good shot to win, and they did it yesterday. And we know that this team is good at home. They're 19-6 on the season, 4-3 on the road, so small sample size on the road. But really this Occidental team, they've kind of established themselves here in the past few years as a team that's just always going to be there.
Hey, you take a look at that lineup right there. When you got guys like Frederickson, Brancho, Andrade right there in the heart of the order, Gibbs in the 2 holes leading all of SCIAC in batting average, that's a huge reason why. You complement that with the pitching that we see this year, 3rd best ERA. They strike out a ton of batters this season, and you got a freshman like Ramirez who's starting today. That put together with the hitting, you got a pretty good ball club.
Most certainly, but I will tell you this on the Laverne side of things. It's been pitching coach Sean Fasig that's really gotten good continuity of this staff, and it's really starting here with Burhans as their number 2 guy. And this is really a big swing game when you talk about any given series. When you have Norman, who's got 7 wins, and he's 7-1 on the season, odds are you're coming into a Saturday with a 1-0 lead in the series. And when you have a guy like Burhans that can go put the series away, that's a really good feeling. But now they're kind of on the tail end of this. They're coming down. They're down in the series, but good luck with Burhans on the mound. Things are looking good for this Leopards team. He pounded the zone early in the first inning. We're going to see how he's going to do it here in the second. 1-0 the count with nobody on, nobody out as we start the second inning here on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. Occidental Tigers in the house of the University of Laverne Leopards here at Campus West. Andrade had a homer yesterday. This one sprayed foul. 1-1 your count. Now, Billy, I don't know if you've been watching MLB, but this Red Sox team right now, just atrocious. And they picked up a win yesterday against the Rays, but a team that won the World Series last year not looking too hot as this one fly ball out to right field off the bat of Andrade.
I mean, World Series hangover?
One could be pretty accurate in that statement. Chris Sale, 0-4. Mookie Betts only batting about 220. He did have a bomb in the 8th inning yesterday. His 5th go-ahead home run in the 8th inning or later in his young career. This kid's a stud. They're going to need a lot more of Mookie Betts moving forward into the latter part of the season. It's early, though. Only 20 games in, but now you look 7-13. You'd like to see that flip-flop if you're Alex Cora.
Yeah, and in a tough division, you know, the Yankees want to win that division. A lot of you know, people betting on the Yankees to win that division this year despite Red Sox coming off a World Series win.
Well, when you go out and you get guys like Paxton couldn't be at the front end of your rotation, that certainly helps. And you got a second-year manager, really just establishing a good culture over there. If you're a Red Sox fan, you got to tip your cap. And you also look at a team like Tampa Bay, the over/under in Vegas, 92 wins for Tampa Bay. So they're gonna go rack up some wins too. This one dribbled back to Burnhams. Burhams is able to field his position on the PFP. Pitchers fielding practice all day, they say. So he goes 1-3 over to first base, second out of the second inning rather. Top of the second, 2 outs, nobody on, 0-0 your score.
Very efficient for Burhans here in this second inning. 6 pitches and 2 outs, and now he's going to face Gus Patrick with the bases empty.
And Patrick will step into the batter's box. Poising a .324 batting average on the season. This is a strike for Burhans. 0-1 your count.
The lone guy in this lineup without a home run for the Tigers.
7 RBIs on the season, 18 walks. And this one punched out to right field, and that power alley here at Ben Hines Field, but it's called in by the right fielder. Quick inning for Burhans. Sit him up and sit him down. 3 up, 3 down for the Leopards as we head to the bottom of the second. 0-0 your score here on LVTV3. Laverne Community Television. Hal Hargrave alongside Billy Lopez. Billy, 1 hit so far. We've seen 9 outs of play. What are your thoughts? Good pitching.
Oh, yeah, and that's what we expected with Ramirez and Burhans. Burhans only needed 8 pitches to get through 5, 6, and 7 of Occidental in that second inning. Laverne got a leadoff single and then a stolen base. It looks like things were going to be going well for them. And then a tough double play on a line drive to the shortstop on a diving stop to double off Galan at second base. Kind of got them out of that first inning. Little bit of a groove. And
pitch count can't be overstated today. You're going to have to look at this and know that, you know, just 7 days ago, he pitched a CG in 9 innings. And this is a guy that also, in his own respect, is also leading the team in innings pitched. And this is a guy last year at Sac City that only pitched 15 innings out of a mid-relief role. So Burhans, I had a chance to talk to him before the game. I said, how's the arm feeling? He said, well, the body's not feeling great, but I'm just like everybody else at this stage of the game. You just got to kind of numb it out and just say, let's go. And so I think that's got to be the mentality. And an inning like an 8-pitch inning is going to help him, give him depth later in today's game. Hopefully he'll see 7.
Yeah, once you go out there and you start playing a little bit, get a little bit of the adrenaline in your body, those aches and pains kind of go away, especially when you go through 2 innings, no hits, a very tough Occidental team. The only person getting on base, an error by the first baseman, Siffert. He's feeling pretty good right now.
Shiota stepping into the batter's box for the Leopards. So we look to get rolling here in the bottom half of the second inning. Shiota batting .347 on the season, 20 RBIs, 14 walks, 9 strikeouts, 4 stolen bases. Shiota takes the ball, 1-0 the count, nobody on, nobody out. Bottom of the second, 0-0 your score. Liggett on deck for the Leopards. Ramirez on the bump. Coming out of the windup, this fastball in the outer third, it's going to catch the corner, 1-1 the count.
And earlier, Hal, you mentioned, you know, Michaels and Thomas leaving Laverne last season. How can Laverne have a better offense this year? Well, Shiota, one of the freshmen on this ball club, that batting .347, that's how.
You got to get production out of these young guys, and Occidental knows what that means too with Ramirez on the mound. They're getting production there too. 2-1 the count. And you want to talk about how things come full circle. 2 years ago, Dylan Lowenstein, who was a transfer, and he was behind the plate before Adam Santa Cruz. He's still at Laverne, and he's a strength and conditioning coach for this team. So talk about the gift that keeps on giving. Guys who come in and establish culture. They love the Laverne way. They stick around. They're graduate assistants. Jacob Thomas filling the role for this Laverne baseball team this year.
Yeah, and having guys like that stick around, it's so heartwarming for all these guys. You know, Scott Winterburn loves having them come back and help the young guys out.
This one punched up the middle, but that middle part of the field for Occidental is absolutely nails.
Yeah, Gibbs at second, Ingram at short. Both guys can shoot, ranging deep into the center field area right there, making tough plays.
That one was punched up the middle, but hauled in for the out as it was Shiota. Put a good stick on it, but 1 out. Nobody on here in the bottom of the second. Liggett stepping up to the plate. Back to Lowenstein. I actually seen this guy lately, and it's got a good build on him. I'm like, dude, are you still in baseball shape? But I guess by virtue of hanging around Coach Durant, among others, I think you have no choice but to be eating well and lifting heavy. So
yeah, Durant will have that effect on you.
Coach Matt Durant, national strength and conditioning coach in all of collegiate sports just 2 years ago. And you want to talk about establishing a long-standing 10-plus year culture here. He still has a lot of his ex-athletes come back, and they weren't thanking him while they were here because generally they were a little upset about what they're having to be going through, but they thanked them thereafter for a lot of the good values that they were instilled with in terms of dedication and hard work. My wife being one of them as an ex-volleyball athlete here, she'll tell you that she never felt as good as she did when she was working out with him. So. Back in the day, actually, Matt Durant was actually a communication student working for our executive producer, Shane Rodriguez, who's down inside of our trailer running operations today along some very hard-working students. That one is going to be an out. So shortstop over to first, Liggett, ground ball out.
So what you're telling me, Hal, is Shane was calling the shots way back in the day, ordering Durant around.
Shane might be careful for what he wishes for. If he ever steps foot in that gym, he might reverse the roles on him. Head to the bottom half of the order now. 2 outs, nobody on, bottom of the second. Liggett with the ground ball out. This one sprayed foul. Bike, the freshman, coming up to bat for the Leopards and having good introductory season for him, batting .205. The home run, some timely hitting for the Leopards. Cody Norman talked about how impressed he was with some of the young guys on the team, Bike being one of them, stepping up into roles with guys like Thomas and Michaels graduating last year.
Yeah, and they didn't have to go too far to scout out Bike, just played baseball down the street here at Bonita High School.
It's always a homecoming for him anytime he plays here at Ben Hines. Bonita High School, quite literally on the same street as the main campus of University of Laverne. Off of D Street. Laverne nestled in about 35 miles east of LA. Here in Southern California, the 10 freeway take you right into downtown.
If we leave right now on a Saturday, we might not even face any traffic.
Don't kid yourself here. On Saturdays now, it's almost the worst time of week to be traveling down there, but right now might not be a bad thing. It's not sunny out, though. It's kind of a dismal day, but both these teams trying to bring lights through the clouds. Some bright spots on both sides of the diamond today. Ramirez goes strike 3, 3 outs for the Occidental Tigers. At the end of 2, 0-0 your score. This has been SkyAct Baseball on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television.
And after hitting Santa Cruz, Ramirez has shut down Laverne, 4 straight batters, striking out Bike, looking. Both pitchers attacking and trying to get ahead of the count. You see the hitters trying to put a little bit of emphasis, trying to attack early on, but they're just not getting a good look at the pitches coming out of Burhan's and Ramirez's arms right now, fouling a lot of stuff off, a lot of late action going.
And this could be a sign of things to come. I mean, one could only imagine that at some point in this postseason tournament, these teams might face each other again, and whether it would be Norman against McCarthy or Ramirez against Burhan's, I mean, this could be, in fact, a postseason bout. And this has lived up to every bit of the hype, talking about pitching. And when you have hitting on both sides, too, who's going to prevail? It's been pitching early on in this game. Burhan's hasn't given up any hits. Ramirez won. Look at that. SkyAct postseason champions.
Pole blocking the 2018 one from their last year's SkyAct championship. Want to go back-to-back here in conference, but also want to have a better finish in the postseason than they did a year ago.
Yes, and think about last year, they fell short in tournament play and did not get the outright bid. So it was Trinity who ended up getting over him, and we talked earlier about that magic number. And if you're going to get an outright bid this year, not large bid, and not win a postseason tournament, Coach Byrne is thinking it's going to be around 30 wins is what it's going to take. And you look at this year compared to last year in terms of out-of-conference scheduling and wins. Laverne did not have a good out-of-conference showing last year. This year, a different story. So that's going to be a positive as we head into decision-making time. And don't think that this series will not be circled on that calendar, because it will. because these teams both at 23-9 right now. If you have a committee looking at these two teams, they might go to head-to-head. And so if you look at these teams by history, the last 10 meetings, Occidental owns this 7-10, 7 out of 10 in the last 10 that they faced off. But last year, Laverne won 2 of 3. This is going to be a big series here today. Occidental winning yesterday 5-2.
And Laverne has won 3 straight home games against Occidental here at Ben Hines.
This one punched out to right field. Running in on it, the right fielder. A diving play. Haul it in for an out. Great job outstretched by the right fielder for Laverne. Web gems all over the field today, Billy.
Yeah, Perez in right field coming on in, making a diving catch right there in shallow right field. Well, we talked about it. These guys in the outfield can really put routes on balls and make catches look very easily. You know, it was looking like it was going to drop, and I did not have a doubt in my mind that Perez was going to get to it.
This one punched right back up the middle. No hitter gone. One can only imagine. We're going to see plenty of those today. Base hit back up the middle. Trying to stab at it was Burhands. Had he not fallen off the mound to the left, that might have been his head that was ripped off by the ball, but nonetheless, punch right back up the middle. Their first runner on base for the day, and it brings up the pitcher, Diego Ramirez. Do apologize. It's actually Angelo Zorn. Takes a first pitch strike, 1 out, 1 on here in the top half of the 3rd inning. Burhands working out of the stretch. Takes a peek over at first base. He's going to check on him. Look at the great play. Perez out there in right field. This guy is a true utility man. I've seen the kid play first base. I've seen him play third. And if this game's tight late in today, he's their go-to guy out of the bullpen. You want to talk about a versatile piece he got in your Scott Winterburn. Chris Perez is every bit of that.
Oh, yeah. Probably there's a lot of guys to choose from and who's your most valuable, but in terms of just doing different things on the baseball field, Perez is that go-to guy.
Perez in his senior year out of Burbank High School. This one sprayed foul off the bat of Zorn. 0-2 the count, 1 on, 1 out. 0-0 your score.
Bauer at first, the number 9 hitter in this Tigers lineup, got the first hit for Occidental. Only batting .266, but he attacked the first pitch because he knows that Burhands wants to get ahead of the count.
That is Burhands' mantra. Get ahead, stay down, rely on the fastball. These guys have sat on 2 fastballs and punched them right back up the middle. And for Burhands here, getting touched up on back-to-back batters, and now going to go into that lethal part of the order.
That was on an 0-2 count. A lot of pitchers sometimes ahead of the count, 0-2, 1-2. They'll try to get a little too fine, try to nibble at the corners or get the hitters to try to chase something. Burhands doesn't change anything. 0-2, he's still going to attack you. That time, Zorn right there, 0-2, didn't shorten up on the swing, got the fastball and hammered it into center.
See if this Laverne infield really tightens things up here. Got middle back. Corners up. Runners on first and second, 1 out. And you got the top hitter in the league right now in Reed Gibbs. The 2-hole for Occidental. Burhands down and in. 1-0 your count, 1 out. This is a big time to capitalize with the Occidental Tigers. If anything else, who do you got on deck? You got Jake Fredrickson.
5 homers, 34 RBIs. It doesn't get any easier.
Burhands working out the stretch. Moves towards home. This one punched over to shortstop, and a great play by shortstop. Running towards third. He says, I'm going to make it easy on myself. Go over to third baseman there. And good job on the run.
Yeah, Bauer on the base pads, running from second to third, was probably the slowest runner on the pads for Occidental. And Benson at short, ranging deep in the hole, used his momentum and took him towards third base as opposed to throwing against his body.
Good job with Browning there to also have peace of mind to know that Benson is not going to throw back across his body and go to first. Goes right to third base, but waits for it. They got the force play going. Good job by Benson to cover the hole there. And now for Laverne, they can go after this guy and be done with this. Jacob Benson, this is a kid in his freshman year who came in and really had to duke it out with some tough players. You had Andrew Douglas here at that time, Cody Norman, who was also recruited as a shortstop, and it was Benson who ultimately prevailed. He started seeing some time, saw some time at the bottom of the order that year at the 9 hole, eventually worked his way up to the 1 hole. And Benson, this is a kid that's got range in terms of his glove. This guy's the real deal.
And not too shabby with the bat this year, has improved all seasons long, batting .292 on the season.
Jacob Benson, small and scrappy. 0-1 the count, 2 outs. Fredrickson here takes a ball, 1-1 your count, 2 on.
A lot of speed on the bases. Zorn at second, Gibbs at first.
Left-handed hitter Fredrickson here. Takes a whiff at the slider, 1-2 the count, 2 outs. And here, you want to talk about being too fine. What would you like to see here out of the hand of Burhans?
Might go back with that slider. I mean, the bottom just fell right there on that one. You saw Fredrickson out lunging on it, expecting heater on the 1-1 count.
I talked to Burhans before the game, and he said his out pitch is really his fastball and relying on that thing going away from the left-handed hitter. But here, what is he comfortable in? Another outstretched swing. It's chopped foul. Burhans was ready to cover first base, so still 1-2 the count, 2 on, 2 outs. 0-0 your score. Santa Cruz grabbing a new ball from the umpire. Burhans will gather himself and get back on the bump. Top of the 3rd here at Ben Hines. This has been Skyac Baseball on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. As Burhans looks in, he takes the sign. Winterburn, the one to typically call the game. From the dugout, this one punched over the right side. Great job staying down on it, and they are going to get him out. That ball scoots by the first baseman. That is not only 2 bags, it might be 3 plus 2 runs across. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Great job by the first baseman. 0-0 still your score here as we head to the bottom of the 3rd.
And Fredrickson reached on an error at first by Siffert in his first at-bat. This time Siffert getting down, not letting that ball get past him and taking it to the bag himself. A huge improvement right there from the first time around.
Yeah, Siffert over at first base has had his hands full with Frederick. He had one that came up and ate him in the chest. That time he stays down on it. And Laverne records the final out. Jacob Benson going to be coming out to the plate for the Leopards. Ramirez still out on the bump for the Occidental Tigers. And if you're into baseball, some people might say, oh, well, runs, home runs, people flying around the base pass is fun baseball, but there's also a beauty in a pitcher's duel, and that's what we're seeing here early on. 2 hits for the Tigers, 1 for the Leopards as we head to the bottom of the 3rd.
And for me personally, Hal, I love good old-fashioned pitching duels. I know home runs and a lot of runs are exciting and everything, but just seeing 2 guys demolish lineups and just work so finely. And the defense, you got great plays defensively on both sides. We had the shortstop, Ingram, for Occidental make a nice play, ranging up the middle to make a diving catch and rob a hit from Siffert. We saw Perez come in, make a diving outstretch catch in shallow right field. You got to love it.
And Jacob Benson on that backhand play just last inning and going over to 3rd to get the force, get the lead runner. There's been good plays going on all over the field, so it hasn't just been pitching. Give credit to where credit's due. It's also been some great plays behind those pitchers as well, but nonetheless, defense prevailing here early on. Jacob Benson up to the plate for the Leopards. I'll be Tanner Browning on deck. Bottom half of the order for the Leopards. Benson batting .292 on the season, 22 ribbies, a triple, and 4 dubs. Takes a first pitch strike. 0-1 the count. Nobody on, nobody out. Bottom of the 3rd. Here at Ben Hines on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. Hal Hargrave alongside Billy Lopez. Infielders coach Mason Stoltenberg. Over at 3rd base for the Leopards. Jacob Thomas over as first base coach for the Leopards as well. Also a graduate assistant, a former player for the Leopards in his own right. This one punched foul off the screen down the right field line. 1-2 the count. Benson. This one punched into right center, just past the diving second baseman for the Occidental Tigers, and they are able to punch one through, and they get an LOM. Leadoff man on.
Batting number 3, Tanner Browning.
Benson's got some wheels as well. Tanner Browning stepping up to the plate, and for Benson, 2 stolen bases on the season. We'll see what type of small ball Winterburn decides to play here. And in a pitcher's duel, this might be an opportune time to bunt somebody over, especially when you got the top of the lineup coming up in Galan on deck. Bunt shown, pulled back. 1-0 the count. Gotta love Southern California. 85 and sunny out yesterday, 63 and absolutely dismal out today, but at least we can all endure a beautiful game of baseball in front of us. Got the San Gabriel Mountains in the background. The peak of Mount Baldy with white rock on it, not to be confused with snow. Ramirez gonna check. Reset, steps off the back of the rubber. 1-0 the count. 1 on, no out. Bottom of the third, 0-0 your score. 2 hits apiece for both these teams thus far. Browning here with the bunt. And a great job bringing the third baseman forward, and a good job by Ramirez to go cover third base to keep Benson at bay over at second. But nonetheless, they advance Benson 90 feet. 1 out, 1 on, and now the top of the lineup coming up for the Leopards in Galan.
And Galan singled in his first at-bat, promptly stole second base. A tough out for Ramirez the first time around.
You see the ship that Winterburn guides here, and nobody's too big for the team. And Tanner Browning, 9-hole hitter, comes up, gets a job done, bunts somebody over. Dude's batting .435 on the season and 69 at-bats. You could very well let the guy swing, but he says, you know what, we're going to stick to our game plan because it's worked. And it's worked for 19 years for Winterburn, and 5 conference championships later, he's done something right.
And that's what you got to do. You buy into Winterburn's system, and he's not going to, lead you astray.
Galan, he swiped a bag in the first after he was able to get on. But Galan here, different situation. He's got a runner on second and trying to get a job done to see if they can push the first run across this game. Little spaghetti move there. Works back over to second base, does Ramirez to keep Benson at bay. Got Sifford on deck, the freshman, batting .317 on the season. He's made a couple of good plays over at first. But Galan here, the top of the order. 0-1 count, 1 out. Ramirez out of the stretch. And Ramirez here for the first time today is struggling a bit with command here in the bottom of the third.
Yeah, and when you get runners on, that's what it'll do a little bit. You want to be a little bit too fine. You also start worrying about the runners. We saw a pickoff attempt at second base, and I don't think Benson's trying to move up to third.
Now, Benson giving no indication he's going to take off running, but I think trying to get a healthy lead to ensure that if this ball goes to the outfield, he's scoring.
Yeah, some good arms in the outfield for Occidental. And anything in the outfield, you're going to see Benson get the green light to try to come home.
It was Galan in his first at-bat that had a base hit to left field, took a healthy round around first to try to go 2. He stayed at first, ended up swiping the bag thereafter, but the guy can move, and he also can swing it. 1-2 your count, 1 on as Ramirez comes set. Now moving towards home, this one off the plate now. 2-2 your count. 1 error for the Leopards today. Occidental had 3 yesterday. They have the second most errors in SCIAC with 54. Didn't matter. With McCarthy on the bunt, he going CG. A 5-2 victory. The 3 errors didn't matter. This one down and in, and again, a good eye by Galan. Now a 3-2 count with a free bag over at first base. We'll see how fine Ramirez tries to be here.
Yeah, Laverne hitters don't make it easy on you. They're not going to stretch out that strike zone and chase anything. They're going to make you come to them.
The few strikeouts in SCIAC as a team. Very disciplined, the Scott Winterburn team is. But Ramirez able to get him down and away. Chasing there, Galan. Strike 3 on the swing.
Tanner Sifford.
That 2-seam fastball kind of running on the hands of Galan down and in. And it brings up now Tanner Sifford. And oh, how sweet. That audible noise of Florida Georgia Line. Stagecoach in the house next weekend out in Indio. Weekend 2 of Coachella going on. There's been a lot of celebs out there. I don't know if it's my scene nonetheless at Coachella nonetheless, but you'll catch me out there at Stagecoach next week, you know.
Got a whole day pass and stuff?
Got the 3-day passer, you know, excited to go see Luke Bryan, Sam Hunt, Old Dominion. Unfortunately for these ball players, they'll be in the middle of the season, hopefully duking it out with CMS. And you students in school getting your work done, but something to be said about a little country music and some friends. This one fouled off. Speaking of music, you can always tune in to Leo FM radio. Maybe you can catch Billy Lopez.
Wednesdays, 5 to 7.
There you go. 107.9. Can get it through also Laverne website. Check it out. All of our Laverne students in the communications department over at the ABC building on campus, on main campus. Main campus just about a quarter mile east of here. Take Arrow Highway down. Really fun for the students. I had an opportunity to do it myself as a communications student here several years ago. Caught me on the sticks, DJ H double, Hal Hargrave in the house. It really wasn't as cool as it sounds.
I beg to differ. We got to get Mike to bring out those old tapes.
Hopefully they're archived in a way that nobody will ever see them again. Siffert with another hack. It's pushed foul. Still Benson on second base. 0-2 the count, 2 outs. Santa Cruz on deck for the Leopards. Will he see the batter's box here in the bottom of the third? 0-2 the count. Siffert sees one off the plate. His last weekend out at Coachella, Ariana Grande, one of the headliners. This weekend, it's actually Kanye West, so I hear, and one of his soulful choirs, I guess, and I guess it's kind of a tribute to maybe Good Friday, Easter weekend type deal, so I've heard.
And Grande out there last week, and we might see Shane.
Yeah, right. And this one punched over to the shortstop. Gibbs, he has it. He's going to gobble it up, throw it over to first base. Side is retired. 0-0 your scores. Laverne Strands 1 and Benson at second base. And that's tough if you're Coach Scott Winterburn and you see him over at second with 1 out and you can't push him across in a game where runs are of dire need. Nonetheless, Burham's coming back out to the mound. At the end of 3, 0-0 your score here on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television.
Well, third of the way through, 2 hits allowed for both pitchers. The closest we've seen from a run is a runner at second base, not even getting the third at all. Dialed in Burhan's Ramirez right here, game 2 of the series.
Ramirez labored a little bit that inning, but minimized damage, no runs, so no harm, no foul. And it's been pitch count that's been able to keep things at bay for Devin Burhans.
Yeah, got around from a leadoff single. Ramirez gave up the leadoff single to Benson in the bottom of the third. They bunted him over with 1 out. Big strikeout in Galan right there to breathe a big sign of relief and then get Sifford out.
And with these teams, they don't struggle for pitching. So nonetheless, if this game at any point goes to the bullpen, both these teams are in good standing. This Occidental team, 3rd in ERA, team ERA in SCIAC play. And for this Leopards team, talking to Cody Norman at the top of the staff, and he talks so highly about the guys that are coming out of the pen. He says it's the deepest staff that they've had here in a long time.
Yeah, and Occidental, you mentioned 3rd in staff ERA. Laverne 2nd in ERA, a 3.18 ERA, and you have an ERA at 3.18 at this point of the season. You know, you have to face a lot of injuries, some time off, some different things going on, mixing up some matchups and stuff, and you still have a good ERA at this time. It's a good staff.
It is 32 games into the season. No big injuries on the roster sheet. And something that is so indicative of kind of what the mentality is with these pitchers and what Sean Fasig has been able to do with this staff. The fewest walked batters in SCIAC. And we talked about Burhams today. He's only walked 5 batters this season. This guy just pounds the zone.
And over 50 innings pitched. He got the complete game in his last start against Redlands. No walks, 4 strikeouts.
The hammer right there for a strike. 1 and 2 the count. Nobody on, nobody out. Brancho, the 4-hole hitter at the plate, and this one in on the hands of Brancho. Brushes him back a little bit. 2 and 2 the count on that slider on the front door. Talk about just defensively what this Laverne team can do. And we talked about Santa Cruz behind the plate. They've allowed the fewest stolen bases in SCIAC. This one, hang time in the air, and it is going to barely fall foul. Chris Perez ran a country mile to try and run this thing down and fell about a foot short of it. Thought we were going to see him lay out. He didn't. But for the sake of maybe his body, it might have been a good thing.
Yeah, we saw him lay out earlier. Made a nice grab right there. Almost made another one right there.
He's playing nearly 100 feet off the right field line. Right-handed hitter at the plate to be expected, so ran quite a ways there, but nonetheless, 2 and 2 the count. It was just a long foul ball. Brancho punching this to left field. Coming in on it is the left fielder. And this one going to pop up off the glove of Liggett. So a single for Brancho and a LOM for the Occidental Tigers. Leadoff man on.
The first time all game long that Burhans has allowed a leadoff runner reach base. We'll see what Occidental can do.
This Occidental team the past several years has really had the great pleasure of having Laverne's number. They've won 7 out of 10. Laverne last year won 2 of 3. They've won their last 3 at home against Oxy. But Laverne, prior to coming into this weekend, had won 8 straight, and Occidental snapped that yesterday. This one going to go off the screen. Foul ball, nobody out, 1 on here in the top half of the 4th. Burhan still on the bump for the Leopards.
A little bit of confusion here, Hal. The ball hit the net. Ziffer made a nice grab off the net. Not sure if the umpire didn't see it, but I think he called him out, and then that's why you have the argument from Occidental side, but they're going to clean it up.
And that's the right call to be made. You can't play the ball off the net. And Ziffer would love it if that were so, but nonetheless, looks like Winterburn wants an explanation. He should know better than anybody. This is his home park.
Antonio Audrey.
Protective netting almost going completely around the ballpark here. Kind of stops there in center field, 410 feet to dead center at Ben Hines.
You got it wrapping around right field there, that netting, and I'll tell you this much. I've seen Ben White, who was a previous player here, hit several off of that right field netting that I'm so thankful it was there for those girls playing softball out there in right field.
And a lot of times, softball, baseball going at it at the same time. Campus West, very busy.
It is very busy. You have this auxiliary field over here that's typically used for intramural sports, but sometimes also used by baseball and softball for conditioning and additional fielding practice. In Campus West over here at the University of Laverne, some 54 acres that the University of Laverne owns over here, and their plans to develop on this property for also additional sports over here. Unfortunately, it won't be utilizable until my kids someday, and I haven't even had kids yet, but projected in 2034 to be completed. And actually, that might be a blip in time. 15 years from now, it'll probably be upon us soon enough, but plans to bring the football field over here, a new aquatic center, among other things, weight room, gym, you name it. But 54 acres to develop on. This is an exciting time to be at the University of Laverne, I will tell you that much.
And aside from sports, a couple of days ago, CAB hosted an event here, little carnival theme action, free food for all the students that came. So using this piece of land here to the benefit of athletes and students.
Most certainly, and it's never been a better time to be a student at the University of Laverne when you want to talk about diversity and inclusion and everybody having a place. And that is a culture that has been well established by the 18th University president here at the University of Laverne, Devorah Lieberman. She is the first non-brethren president, mind you. And Devorah just doing incredible things since her tenure in October of 2011. And if you've seen what she's done alone to donors and to the endowment here at the university, it's been impressive. A great play over at third base, but unable to get the runner in time, so you got 2 on with no outs. Is able to leg it out, but that ball kind of ate up the third baseman. Ate him up in his chest. As Browning was then able to pick it up off the ground and try to heave it over to first base in time. Siffert outstretched, unable to call him safe on the bang-bang play. They do call him safe, rather. And it brings up now Ingram to the plate. Looks like they're going to go check on Browning here. Here's Winterburn. Stopping play. Browning looking like he's maybe laboring with his back a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like maybe his lower back.
They're going to pull Browning out.
Looks like Granados might be coming in for him.
Yeah, something doesn't look right there.
And tough break for Browning. 435 on the year. Got the job done, bunning over Benson in his last plate appearance. Lucas Granado, big enough to fill those shoes, though.
But tell me it ain't so with this Laverne team. Next man up mentality.
And it was quick. It was quick. You don't even question if Browning's, 50%, 60%. So you're not 100? All right, we got another guy.
It'll be Granado checking in over at third base for the Leopards, and it seemed as if it was almost in unison. He looks back, and Granado's already halfway out with his glove in hand, so you can tell the mentality of these players at any given moment. You got to be ready. LVTV3, Laverne Community Television, Oxy pressing here and looking to make a splash. Battle of the two cats, the Leopards and the Tigers. And Oxy looking to put a couple up on the board. They got 2 on with no outs. Burhan's on the bump for the Leopards here in the top half of the 4th. And at the plate, it is number 24 for the Occidental Tigers.
Ingram, 346 on the season. On deck, 324. In the hole, 329. Bottom of the lineup doesn't give.
The freshman out of Sacramento, California. We hope his family's tuning in for this bright spot. So he's looking to get a job done. This one up in the zone, 2-0 now the count with 2 on and no outs. Top half of the 4th.
A rare time where you see Burhan's down in the count early on, 2 balls, no strikes.
Patrick on deck, the San Diego native for the Tigers. Be rest assured he's going to see an AB here regardless of a double play. This one, I'm going to call it a foul tip.
And no argument from Ingram. He kind of nodded his head as he looked back at the home plate umpire.
Showed bunt there. So we're seeing Occidental's intent here. with Wetmore showing bunt and possibly trying to get runners on second and third with one out. A sac fly could push somebody across. See if they go back to bunt here. 2-1 count. They show bunt. This one's going to get down. Good job pulling the third baseman off the bag. And if you're Granado, you come right in, you make a play. You see action early, and he'll settle you down real quick.
Absolutely, and that's what you hope for Granado. Sometimes you come in and the ball's not hit to you until the 9th inning, 2 outs, and you hope you make that play.
Sure. And that one, smooth, easy. Field your position. You come up on the ball. You get the out. But now, got to grind if you're Burhams.
And you see the mentality switch by Occidental, a team that rarely lays down a sacrifice bunt. They do things with the power. They do things with the speed. Speed limited with Santa Cruz behind the plate. Power limited with his spacious ballpark and the tough pitching by Laverne.
Patrick here. On what looked like a good first pitch, but a called ball. 1-0 the count. 1 out, 2 on second and third. No runs across for either team. 3 hits for Occidental here in the first 3+ innings. Burhans, this one a fly ball. This looks like it'll be deep enough, but we're going to see a play at the plate in this one. Thrown in, but cut off by Siffert. First run of the game pushed across by Oxy, as it was Brancho who got on as the leadoff man. There's something to be said about that LOM, that leadoff man getting on, that makes you feel really good about your chances of pushing one across in a given inning. And Oxy does what they're able to do with a fly ball there. They push him across. Good job by Patrick on the fly ball, the sac fly.
Yep, first time that Occidental got the leadoff man on, and they cashed him in.
And now here we're heading to the bottom half of the order. For the Tigers, Burhan's giving up his first run of the day. As it's Eamon McNeil at the plate for the Tigers. Coming out of Central Catholic High School in Portland, Oregon. A couple of Oregon guys. Another guy out of Jesuit High School up in Portland as well. So doing some recruiting up in the Oregon area. Is Wetmore, as this one now moves it to an 0-2 count. 2 outs with 1 on. A 1-0 score here at Ben Hines. And Burhan's battling back. He'd love to get back in the dugout and minimize the bleeding. Top of the 4th, tight game. Burhan's working out of the stretch. 0-2 the count. This one punched through the right side. PFPs, they're going to field it over to first base. Good job by Siffert with the underhand throw, and a good job by Burhans to move over to first to cover the bag. 1 pushed across, 1 stranded, 1 hit given up in the top of the 4th, but a 1-0 score as we head to the bottom of the 4th, Billy.
Yeah, limited the damage right there. Gave up the first 2 guys getting on base for Occidental. They had 2 in scoring position with only 1 out. Sac fly by Gus Patrick to bring in the game's first run. Ramirez is going to try to get a shutdown inning right here and get the bats back out there against Burhans, but Laverne's going to try to do some damage here. They got 3, 4, and 5. Santa Cruz, Perez, and Chiota do up a tough 3 to get out.
And you saw at the end of the inning there, it was Fasig stepped out on the field to kind of calm Burhans down. Let's talk about what you saw, what you did, how we can move forward from this. Sean Fasig, a guy you've got to respect. He's an ex-Laverne player himself. In his junior campaign here, kid had a 1.8 ERA as a setup man in the bullpen. He was the deal that year. And Fasig has bought into this Laverne culture. He struggled with arm trouble and arm injury his senior year in an unfortunate way to end his tenure here as a player. But he's been every bit of what Scott Winterburn's needed as somebody that he can rely on and somebody that ultimately Winterburn lets calls the shots in terms of who's coming in, who's going out, pitch selection, things like that. Sean Fasig stepping up big, and he's really got the trust of his staff.
Yeah, and you look at guys like Cody Norman, you mentioned, coming in as a shortstop and what he's been able to do with Laverne these past 3 seasons. Devin Burhan's first year here out of Mount Sac, and what he's done this year, stepping into a starting role this year. 15 innings pitched all year last season with Mount Sac. This year, over 50 innings pitched, his 5th start this year.
Sean Fasig doing good things for this team. Santa Cruz coming up to the plate, and Sean Fasig has really got a nature about him, along with Coach Winterburn, that can identify position players that can ultimately step up and pitch. And you look back to just a couple of years ago, it was Nick Bird who got recruited down out of the San Diego area. He was also recruited as a shortstop, and it was in a fall ball game. Nick Bird says, "Hey, Coach, let me get on the bump." He says, "Okay, kid, why don't you go out there and show me what you got?" The dude's throwing 94 off the bump. And he's like, "Okay." What does Nick Bird do? He goes on to lead SCIAC in saves in his freshman campaign. Mind you, who went on to suffer a bit of arm trouble throughout his tenure here at Laverne. But it's been situations like that that Coach Winterburn, along with Sean Fasig, have been able to identify good talent when they see it on the bump, and it's really helped them out. This one sailed over the back of Santa Cruz on the attempted bunt.
Yeah, a little scary for Santa Cruz, squaring the bunt that's coming right at him. Fortunate that he was in the crouch already. If he was standing straight up on that one, that might have got him in the back.
Oh, he was wearing that in the back for sure. Two and one the count. This one sprayed to center field, running in on it. Handle by Brancho in center field. They'll bring up Chris Paris.
Now bag number 34.
On a very cloudy
Chris
day
Paris.
like this, 63 degrees at Ben Hines Field in Laverne, California. Ball's not going to carry as much as it would in a bright sunny day.
Amen to that. Let's give you an out-of-town scoreboard update from across SCIAC. Redlands up 2-1 on Cal Lutheran at the end of the fourth. CMS down 4-0 in a battle of 6th Street between them and Pomona Pitzer. It's 4-0 in the bottom of the fourth there. CMS down. Whittier up one, or rather tied 1-1 at the end of 4 against Caltech. So Chapman idled today. Actually got beat 10-0 by George Fox. Paris, the 1-1 count, 1 out, nobody on. And this one punched to right field on a line handled by the right fielder. Paris giving you a hard 90 there. But a fly ball out, 2 outs, and a quick inning here for Ramirez thus far.
Yep, two lazy fly balls. Santa Cruz to center. That one punched into right field. Angelo Zorn in right field making the easy catch on Chris Perez. 1-2 down right here. Ramirez coming in after his team gave him a 1-0 lead in the last half inning, and he got Santa Cruz Perez working 3, 4, and 5 in this order easily.
Ramirez back to pounding the zone again for the Leopards, or rather for the Tigers. Got Liggett on deck. Shiota in the box, 1-1 the count, 2 outs, nobody on. Bottom of the fourth. This one rolled over foul. 1-2 the count with Liggett on deck.
It's not safe out here.
Ramirez, quick inning and making quick work. 3 up, 3 down. The side is put out. And Ramirez holding the #1 team in SCIAC in base hits to only 2 through 4 innings. He's cruising.
Yeah, he's got 3 strikeouts, 2 in the last 3 innings. After giving up a base hit to Benson, he's retired 6 straight after that. So he's feeling it right now. Going into the 4th inning, Burhan's going to need to try to put up another 0 and keep it at 1-0 for as long as he can.
This Laverne team through 32 games this year, 372 hits. This team is accustomed to putting the ball in play, but they've had a tough time doing so the past 2 days. Only 4 hits through the past 13 innings. Billy, it's time these bats come alive.
Yeah, and you see the fans here at Campus West, Ben Hines Field, trying to get something to cheer about, and a base hit will do that and get the crowd involved, team involved, and these fans are not accustomed to seeing this here. No runs in 2 hits. I mean, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, 20 runs, 10 runs, 12 runs, you know.
Give credit to where credit's due. Pitchers doing what they are supposed to. As we look ahead to the coming weeks for the Leopards, they'll play Whittier next week in a 3-game set, and they'll end out the season with CMS. So the Leopards gonna have to grind it out the rest of the way. Whittier in the bottom half of the league, CMS kind of right in the middle of things, and we're actually a preseason favorite to possibly win league. And mind you, this Laverne team's had some quality wins this year. They actually swept a number 13 Cal Lutheran just a few weeks ago in a 3-game set. So this Laverne team can win among the best of them. And talking with Burhans before the game, he really said, you know, coming from Sac City to a conference like SCIAC, this really is a conference that on any given day, doesn't matter if you're Caltech or if you're Chapman, you can win or lose on any given day. This one punched to right field. Paris gonna run it down, and the athletic Paris handles it for the first out at the top of the 5th.
Yeah, there's no easy out, so to speak, in this conference. CMS, you mentioned, one of the preseason favorites, 8-8 right now, scuffling a little bit, couple of wins, couple of losses, but they're still 2 out from becoming a playoff contender.
So you know this is going to come down to the final week, just like it does every single year. So they'll take top 4 into the SCIAC postseason tournament.
You got to love that, Hal. 4 teams, 5, 6 teams all vying in the last week of SCIAC's play.
It's fun. You know you're going to get everybody's best on any given day, and there isn't one team, so to speak, that always has a bullseye on their back. It's everybody that does.
You know,
everybody's out to get you.
And sometimes you have conferences where you know who's going to win. The first place is already received, and you're seeing who's going to be that last seed. You look at a conference like this, top to bottom, 1 through 4 are still all up for grabs.
It's such an interesting conference in itself. You think back to last year, and Redlands was so dominant. But when you graduate 2 horses that they had, one being Felix Minjares, who was a 4-year front end of the rotation type starter, and that nearly hit my truck. Foul ball there, 1-2 the count.
Cleared it. It cleared it.
It cleared it. Nonetheless, it speaks to just the continuous talent that's running through this entire conference. Felix Minjares actually taking his talents and playing at the next level. It was Felix Minjares. I actually was calling a game of his freshman year here at Ben Hines. It was the first year Ben Hines opened. He no-hit the Leopards here. I say that on a Leopards broadcast as I'm biting my tongue, but it kind of set the stage for what was to come for a kid at 6'3", you know, 215 pounds. He just had the build to be somebody good. And he was that for Redlands for 4 years. And Redlands now, again, faltering this year, you know, 8-11 in conference play. Zorn here at the top of the order for the Tigers. So the Tigers trying to get another runner on to see what they can do with Gibbs on deck. 1 out, nobody on, full count. Fouled off again. Burhans versus Zorn. Who's going to win?
Tough battle. 3-2 count already. 1 out. Base is empty. Zorn got on his last time. 1 for 2 today with a single.
I'd like to see Burhans rely on his stuff here, possibly go slider on the back door. It's a good fastball pitcher. Is able to locate well here. There's a reason he's out on the mound and I'm up here in the building. Strike 3 the call on the fastball on the corner.
Yeah, it's got that 2-seam action that runs away from the lefties, as you mentioned earlier, and that one just painted the corner.
Now back number 7, Reed Gibbs.
Prototypically, Scott Winterburn going to call the pitches for his catcher and his pitcher. Time to time, you'll see the pitchers shake, and it's really his philosophy is that hey, if you're going to shake, it better be the pitch that you want, and you better make it well. And I went as far as we see out number 3 here, and we head to the bottom of the 5th to ask Cody Norman, if you were to shake and give up a bomb, what's Byrne going to say? And he said, well, you know, we'd talk about it after. I don't know if he'd be thrilled, but he said as long as I'm confident in making my pitch and what I feel is best there with what I got, he's gonna entrust me in that. So Byrne giving trust to his guys.
And you got to love that from a coach, having a good player-coach relationship where you guys can have healthy dialogue, discuss different things, have different philosophies, and at the end of the day, still be a family.
Scott Winterburn, he's been there and done that. You know, he played independent ball, played college ball, 19-year coach here, 500 wins. He's got all the accolades to go along with it, 5 conference titles. He's got the respect of his players, his alumni. Have you ever been to alumni weekend out here? It's like a zoo. It's crazy. They bring like 50 guys out here, and it just shows to the culture that he's made. And guys want to come back. It's like literally the weekend they circle on the calendar. And don't get me wrong, it's to see the players and to see friends, but it's also to come back and see Byrne and pay your respects. Was Scott Winterburn's son a couple of years ago, Joe Winterburn, who actually transferred his senior year from UC Santa Barbara. And coming out of Glendora High School, him and Adam Plutko won a CIF title together. Adam Plutko now a major league pitcher.
Now bag number 4, Chris Liggins.
And it was Joe Winterburn, who was actually the #1 rated catcher coming out of high school, goes to UC Santa Barbara. Got playing time his freshman year, struggled through some injuries. So he transfers to Laverne, plays under his pops. What does he do? He bats .381, 18 bombs, over 50 RBIs. Dude was a stud. Goes on, gets drafted by the Red Sox. Ended up having Tommy John surgery, and now enjoying his life, getting married this summer, fishing a lot. Life is good.
It's a good year.
This one punched the right side, barely foul off the bat of Liggett. Nobody on, nobody out, bottom of the 5th, 1-0 your score here on LVTV3 Laverne Community Television. Liggett here over to second base. This one going to be handled as it was hit off the handle of the bat rather than top end of the bat. For the first out of the bottom of the 5th.
Bag number 10, John Pike.
7 straight retired by Diego Ramirez. Last person on was Benson, who led off the 3rd with a base hit, stranded at 2nd.
First pitch, up and away, taken for a ball, 1 out. Nobody on, 1-0 the count. So we head into the bottom of the 3rd order of the Leopards. This one sprayed to left field. Is it going to fall in? It is. Base hit for the Leopards.
A little bit of an excuse me swing right there. Pitch on the inside part of the plate. Pike kind of got his hands through there, jammed him a little bit, but still powerful enough to bloop it over into left field for a base hit.
It didn't fall into the same part of the field that I'm going to refer to this next play on, but that swing kind of reminded me of Luis Gonzalez in the year 2000 off the hands against Mariano Rivera in the World Series.
Classic moment.
Classic. Benson. Fouled off. It was Benson who got on last inning. He was on second base with 1 out. They weren't able to push him across. But here, Benson, an opportunity to move a guy over with 1 out, 0-1 the count. Bike over on first base for the Leopards. Ramirez working out of the stretch. Ramirez going to check. Both pitchers now giving up 3 hits on the day. Laverne with 1 error. 1-0 your score. Brancho, the lone run, pushed across for the Tigers. It was off the bat, sacrifice fly of Patrick to push across Brancho, the top of the 4th. Ramirez pounding here. In the outer third, gets the strike, 0-2 the count. Benson taking the sign from Stoltenberg over at first base.
Two of the 3 hits for Laverne coming with 2 strikes. So Benson down 0-2, but he got a single on a 1-2.
See if he shortens up on his approach here. Benson here taking off the plate. See Mason Stoltenberg over at third base. A 2-year player for the Leopards, batting in the 280s in his career as a 2-year player. It's a transfer from UC, or rather JC up in Merced. Both him and Sean Fasig, best friends. Merced transfers, and it's also paved the way for a lot of future Merced JC transfers because of that connection. Stoltenberg familiar to that territory over there. He's a third baseman as a Leopard. Won a conference title back in 2012. Benson takes again. 2 straight balls, 2-2 your count, 1 out, 1 on. Bottom of the 5th, 1-0 your score. This one short hops to second baseman and moves by him into the outfield. They go first to third, does biking. You got first and third with 1 out, bottom of the 5th. So we head to the bottom half of the order for the Leopards. And this is a big moment. That was big there. And kind of a misread by the second baseman, but that ball ate him up. We're going to call E on the second baseman there, so we'll go E4.
And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and going to get on base right there. And heads up base running by John Bike to see it trickle into center field, and the center fielder was not really on top of it, and he was going to scoot all the way up to third base, and now gets the tying run 90 feet away with only 1 away.
E4 or base hit, doesn't matter. You get them on, you do a job. Put the ball in play, good things happen.
They need to talk about Granado, a guy that came in to replace Browning from what appeared to us as a lower back injury after a tough play defensively, and now had to make a couple of nice plays defensively. And now here he is, first and third, 1 out, and tie the game up for us, kid.
Again, next man up mentality, and it couldn't be more prevalent than right now about being ready. Come off the bench, you're thinking, oh, maybe I'm not going to play today, but you can't think that way. This is college baseball, and you've got to be ready to go.
268 on the season, 8 runs driven in, looking for number 9.
Couldn't come at a bigger time here at this point in the season either. Big win, big swing game in the series. It's Saturday. Granado check swing there. Ramirez on the first pitch. Hammer gets him chasing. 0-1 the count. 1 out. First and third. Oxy lead him 1-0. Both teams 3 hits apiece, 1 error apiece defensively. After the error by the second baseman. Off the bat of Benson. Galan on deck. Granado takes here off the plate. 1-1 the count. Numero uno is wild. 1-1 the count. 1 out. Runner on first and third. Looking for 1 run to tie this thing up at 1-0. Ramirez checks over at Benson on first base. Saturday, April 20th, Easter weekend 2019. SCIAC baseball here at Ben Hines Field. Yesterday, Good Friday, the start of Passover for those who celebrate, was at Occidental's field, a 5-2 victory for the Occidental Tigers. A winning pitcher for the Tigers. Their horse and Nolan McCarthy going head-to-head. Cody Norman, who suffered his first loss of the season at 7-1. Brings us here today. 11-5 and 10-6, these teams respectively. 11-5, Occidental Tigers on the upper hand of the Leopards. Crunch time, these teams 2-3 in conference play. Ramirez, bottom of the fifth. Runners on first and third. This one down and away. Now 2-1 your count.
And Hal, you see Ramirez a little bit more deliberate with runners on. A little bit too fine, trying to hit corners, missing right here, 2-1. Checking on the runners a lot. Really a total difference with runners on versus nobody on base.
Well, baseball being such a rhythmic game, you get runners on and you're not able to come to your set and just go. It mentally starts to have a bearing on you whether you realize it or not. Now 2-2 the count. The external stimulus of having runners on, having to check, having things out of your periph. Heightened intensity, you name it. But Ramirez here as a young freshman, looking as if he's handling it all right. Young freshman, 6-2 on the season, looking to pick up that 7th win. But more importantly, a big conference win for this Oxy team here on the road in their first victory in their 4th game played here in the past couple of seasons. They could use it right now.
If he gets win number 7, he'll be tied with Cody Norman for 2nd in SCIAC in wins. Some good company right there for your first season in SCIAC play.
The beauty in baseball, got to see how it plays out. Plenty more to play here. The bottom of the 5th, and now we'll go 3-2. See if the crowd gets on their feet for this one. 3-2 the count, 1 out, runners on first and third. Laverne trails by a run. 1-0 here in the bottom of the 5th.
Pretty good speed with Benson at first. Laverne strikes out the fewest. You might maybe put him in motion here to avoid a double play.
Put him in motion. Make sure Benson's seeing angle down off the bat. That ball's on the ground, he's got to be humming. He's moving. Down. No double play. Runner takes 90. Batter takes 90. Runner on third stays still, and we got him juiced for Galan. Top of the order. This is where you want to be if you're Laverne.
Yeah, just speaking a little bit more on Granado's at-bat right there. Comes up in a big moment after what appeared was going to be a bench roll today. An awful swing in the first pitch, down in the dirt, 0-1, and then works the count full. Payoff pitch, you got a runner in motion trying to stay out of a double play. A pitch very close to the knees, you take it for ball 4. The poise and the bases are loaded.
Unbelievable, and that's going to be something that you're not going to see in the box score. And for those of you that are just tuning in, you may have not even known that this guy came into the game off the bench to fill a void for an injury, and he comes in and he does that. He's down 1-2 in the count. That's the highlight of the game right there. You got to capitalize on it if you're Ryan Galan. Top of the order for the Leopards. Bases juiced, 0-1 the count, 1 out. You trail by 1 here in the bottom of the 5th if you're the Leopards. This is where you need it big. LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. SCIAC baseball, Galan fouls it off, 0-2 the count. Galan had a base hit in his first at-bat. The first inning. Struck out in his second at-bat. Seeing his 3rd plate appearance of the day is Galan. Leads SCIAC in stolen bases. Outfield playing straight up. Middle back, looking for the double play for Oxy. and they might get it here, but Galan's got wheels, but they are gonna turn the double play, and an absolute roar from their dugout and the crowd for those who traveled here 30 miles to see an incredible game. They're getting it right now, and what a play up the middle, and they're able to roll it up. 6-4-3 double play.
Wow.
Unfortunate for Laverne.
Tough break.
Or rather 4-6-3.
One thing you want to do right there is avoid the double play. Get it out in the air, but Galan very rarely hits the ball in the air, uses his speed a lot, and it was bang, bang right there at first.
For Laverne, in the past 2 innings alone, you strand 4. Strand Benson, then you strand bases juice there with 1 out. If you're Scott Winterburn, you want to see a break go your way at some point. But now we get into the last 4 innings of the game. You still have Burhan's on the bump. Got a healthy bullpen, a deep bullpen, and you're seeing guys start to get active down there now. But you're going to let Burhan's ride this out. He's proven over his last 4 starts, he's got juice in the tank, and he can still make good decisions on a labored body late in the game. Going to rely on his veteran leadership here, but Laverne trailing by 1 as we head to the top of the 6th.
You know, and Burhan, 67 total pitches thrown thus far through 5 innings, only allowed 3 hits. That 1 run, you know, Brancho got on base, leadoff single. Andrade would reach on an error. And then the sac fly, the lone run in this game.
So we're going to go 3-4-5. Gibbs got out to end the 5th. But you got Fredrickson and Brancho. 3-4 coming up now. First pitch ball on Burhan's on the corner here with the 2-seamer. 1-1 the count, no outs, nobody on. Top of the 6th. One and 2 the count. Fredrickson in the box, the left-handed hitter for the Tigers. This one popped up to center field. Hauling it in for the out for the Leopards. Giving them F8 for Fredrickson, and now it brings up Brancho, who a couple of innings ago, the lone run for either team today.
Give credit to Oxy. They get the leadoff man on in the 4th. They cash him in. Laverne twice thus far through 5 innings have had the leadoff man on and unable to bring him in.
Saw how the leadoff man getting on last inning, or rather 2 innings ago, paid off for Oxy. It was Brancho who got on, and they were able to bring him around and cash in. But here later in the game, right around 72 pitches or so for Burhan's, but start to watch his mechanics and his velocity. See how he's able to handle himself, as this is a fly ball out for Paris. Out there in right field. Brancho hits the ball about 350 for the out.
Now batting on turn 6, Antonio Andrade.
But Laverne, 2 quick outs here. A good sign for Burhan's to try and get more length on him and see if you can move him into the 7th. Big hack swing and a miss. Strike 1 in the first pitch strike for Burhan's here in the 6th.
And you always wonder how the pitcher's going to come out after having a long sit down. Laverne loaded the bases up, Unable to cash in any runs with 1 out, but it was a long, laborious inning for Ramirez.
And this one punched back up the middle. So going to extend it at least another batter for Burhans here in the 6th. They're able to get a runner on with 2 outs. So Andrade with the hit, and now we'll bring up Ingram, who's 0 for 1 today.
Down night, number 24, Michael Ingram.
Andrade at first has reached base back-to-back times.
Again, back up the middle. And he's able to tag the bag. A good bang-bang play there for Laverne in the middle infield, getting the job done. So they're able to get off the field. It was Galan who's able to push Laverne back into the dugout in the bottom of the 6th now. 1-0 still your score. Burhans hovering right around 50 pitches for the day and giving up 4 hits. And it will be Ramirez trotting back out to the mound for the Occidental Tigers.
And this kid has been impressive, now working into his 6th inning today. Went 7 innings in his last start, allowed no runs on 2 hits, and he's pretty much doing the same thing here today. 3 hits, no runs against Laverne.
69 pitches for Diego Ramirez. It's got a double play. 7 ground ball outs, 3 fly ball outs. He's faced 19 batters. He's got 3 strikeouts in his 5 innings of work. He's given up 3 hits and 1 walk. And to the contrary, Devin Burhans threw 6, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 K. He's faced 24 batters, 9 flyouts, 6 ground ball outs, 78 pitches.
Good part of the order for Laverne here in the home half of the 6th at Ben Hines. 2, 3, and 4 due up.
Now batting number 8, Tanner Sinford.
That's big for Laverne. These guys are going to come back up probably around the 8th. But at that point, you get into this Tigers bullpen. You know, number 3rd and Skyak, who can shut you down. And they might just try to spot you up and go batter by batter and try to match you. It could be a tough pull for Laverne. So this is really crunch time for them this inning to see right here in the heart of the order if they can get a leadoff man on, what Santa Cruz and Paris can do to move this guy around the bases. Big healthy hack there by Siffert, fouls it off. 0-1 the count, nobody on, nobody out, bottom of the 6th. Laverne trails 1-0 here on their home field. Ben Hines. And that was off of a car in the parking lot. Been watching Skyak Baseball on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. Hal Hargrave alongside Billy Lopez in the booth here today. Backdoor slider just off the plate. Good eye by Siffert.
You know, that car's going to sting a little bit. Shane would say just as long as he doesn't get the trailer.
He loves that thing, doesn't he? All of his precious cargo, which also gives us the great liberty to do what we do up here. And it makes us, I'd like to think, look pretty darn good. So we thank Laverne Communications Department, Shane Rodriguez, Mike Laponis, Don Pollock, among many others. And of course, the great student workers here and pursuing their dreams. Those beautiful graphics you see up on the screen and the smooth transitions in due part to some hard work. Great dig there by Fredrickson over at first base. And what looked like was going to get up the middle, Gibbs says, First out of the inning.
Now batting number 23, Adam Santa Cruz.
So Siffer out on the 6-3, play up the middle, and now brings up Adam Santa Cruz. Play on, rather first pitch on the corner on the slider. Able to catch it far and away. 0-1 the count, 1 out, nobody on. Now a front door slider. And he's got Santa Cruz off balance now. Perez on deck.
Yeah, Santa Cruz was okay with the first one. The second one, didn't really like the call on that one. Now he's down in the hole.
Santa Cruz trying to get that between the first and second base hole there. But a good job by Fredrickson moving left to right. Fields it on the high bounce and PFPs. Ramirez, the freshman, he's got a little pep in his step right now. If you see this guy walking around on the mound, feeling some confidence as he's going deep into the game here. He's got his energy flowing. Now he's got to deal with the senior Chris Paris. This is going to be a deep fly ball, but called in for the out. And Ramirez absolutely pumped, walking off the mound. And wouldn't you be? Goes sub 10 pitch inning. Gives him more life. Kids under 80 pitches heading into the 7th.
And he shut down 2, 3, and 4 in order. And quick work, as you mentioned, under 10 pitches in that 6th inning, going into the late innings here at Ben Hines. And pitching a great jam. Burhan's going to come out for Laverne now. What a start that Burhans has had for Laverne. Did everything he could do, going 6 innings, allowing 4 hits, 1 run, the lone run coming in the 4th inning.
21.
But is going to give ways to the pen here in the 7th.
Steven Canedo going to come out and overtake the duties for Burhans. When we look at Canedo, he's a senior left-handed pitcher. He's got 8 2/3 innings pitched on the season and a 5.19 ERA, coming in a big spot.
21, Steven Canedo.
It's Canedo's 10th appearance on the season.
Final line on Burhan, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, no walks, and only 1 strikeout on 78 pitches thrown today, eating up 6 innings for Laverne. And the 1 run being unearned on Burhan's.
If we look at Burhans, his body of work, only 78 pitches. I'm not going to say the leash was maybe premature, but he came off of a heck of a 6th inning. He puts the side up and down, 3 up, 3 down. It brings up now Patrick. But Canedo here. Off a beautiful backhand play.
I tell you what, the backhand was smooth. The throw over there was a little scary.
Scary, but Sifford comes up, comes down, straight on the bag, and Granado can go. Granado, a couple of big plays over at Laverne, and that was a heck of a stab. Had he not gotten his glove down, that ball gets by. That's 2-bagger.
Oh, yeah, especially with Liggett playing towards left center field. About 100 feet off the left field line here at Ben Hines.
Tell you what, though, Canedo, 1 pitch, 1 out, 2 pitches, 1 out, 1 strike. Not bad.
And that's what you want out of a bullpen arm right there.
There you go. And again, you're going to see the versatility of this University of Laverne bullpen. And albeit Burhan's probably had more life left in the tank, but you wonder, hey, we got 2 series left. He's putting us where we need to be. We can kind of spot this up now and go batter by batter. We've got, Norman gave us some length yesterday. And at this point, with Burhan's, there's bigger things to play for, but you got to win this, but you still got the arms and the pen to do it. But you wonder after a 9-inning complete game last week if that's any factor into today.
And maybe a little bit, but you're also looking ahead, as you mentioned, 2 more series coming up, and then the postseason tournament right after that in the early May. But the liberty that Coach Winterburn has with a great pitching staff behind him to just say, okay, you're done for today. We got arms that could also put up zeros.
Most certainly, and I think what's more here is a guy like Burhan's who leads the staff in innings pitched. You got to get these guys innings pitched. These guys in the back end of the bullpen. So when crunch time comes later in the season, they're going to come and deliver.
Good moment to step in, 1-0. You need to limit Oxy to nothing right here, especially with Ramirez. No signs of him coming out anytime soon.
Fouled off. Count will still say full. 1 out, nobody on. Top of the 7th, 1 out. Eamon McNeil batting 301 on the season. The junior leads the team with 9 home runs. He's going to take 90. And for McNeil, his 11th walk of the season.
Canedo only his 3rd walk in 8 2/3 inning pitched coming into today. Different a look, as Burhan's was the right-handed pitcher, Canedo the lefty.
I do apologize. McNeil, rather 9 home runs last season. 2 home runs this season, 15 RBIs. That was his 13th walk of the season. And for McNeil, batting 329 on the season. Over at first base, Canedo gonna check. 0-1 the count, 1 out, 1 on.
Hey, no first to third. No first to third. Here we go. Get him, P. Here we go, Shad. Let's go, lead.
Parabolic mic working really well. Great speed on the base pads for McNeil, 6 of 7 in stolen bases this year, and a big run out there at first base. Tough to get a lead off of a lefty. Canedo, a pretty good move over there to first.
He does have the benefit of left-handed first baseman too. When you got the hand, the glove in the right hand, you just put the tag down. Doesn't have to come across your body, so good move complemented by left-handed first baseman. It's going to keep that runner at bay. Jared Bauer takes the ball. We know what Santa Cruz can do behind the plate. Fewest allowed stolen bases in SCIAC this year, much in due part to him. And the pitcher's move towards home. Give credit to that as well.
And a great stop right there and a ball in the dirt. The trust that you have with Santa Cruz to stop anything in the dirt with a speedster at first.
First to third, off the bat of Bauer. And you hate to say shoulda, woulda, coulda, because right there, Siffert's got to do his job with holding that runner at bay. But if he's playing in his normal position, he may field that. Nonetheless, that's the game of baseball, and that's how you play. And if you're Bauer, you get the great benefit of being able to push that ball through the hole there. But you saw the arm on display there of Chris Perez. That ball was on a line. Nonetheless, they still go first, third.
Now, Occidental got a couple of double plays early on in this game. They got a tough one with the bases loaded, 1 out. Laverne's going to need one here.
Canedo here looking for a big out. Keep this at a 1-run game. Top of the lineup, Angelo Zorn. You got Gibbs on deck. You know what he's about. You can see Sean Facig at the foot of the dugout over there. He's checking down in his pen to check on his boys. Travis Moffitt warming up down in the pen. Canedo falls behind 2-0. Runners on first and third with 1 out in the top of the 7th. The Leopards trail 1-0. Not just a pivotal game, but a pivotal series for both teams. That one narrowly misses. Count now 3-0.
Don't want to load the bases here with Gibbs coming up.
But Canedo's going to do just that. Winterburn's going to come out. And they're going to make a change as Laverne. So base is juiced. And it's going to bring out now number 42, Ethan Fulcher. To the mound as Canedo's going to sit down. Fulcher comes in, 7 1/3 innings on the season, a 4.91 ERA. He's given up 5 hits in his 7 innings with 4 runs and 3 walks, and this will be his 8th appearance on the season.
Big spot here, bases loaded and facing Skyak's best hitter, Reed Gibbs, with the bases loaded, but hasn't done much today. 0 for 3 against Laverne pitching.
Dude, this guy's got an epic mustache. Are we catching this? This is like...
Yeah, we got to get a little closer look on that.
This is like cinema quality right there. Look at that thing. Little Raleigh fingers action on this guy.
Wonder what he uses. Got those nice curls on the outside.
Tell you what, Tresemme, I don't know. Like, this guy's doing it right. Nonetheless, the senior Ethan Fulcher on the mound for the Leopards. And could he have come in at a bigger spot? Probably not.
The battle between Santa Cruz and Fulcher on who's got the better stash.
No kidding. Hopefully they can team up and do one super stash right now, because they're going to need a super play out of Fulcher here.
Fulcher wearing number 42. We had Jackie Robinson Day a few days ago, April 15th. Everyone in Major League Baseball wearing 42.
Most definitely. Dodgers had a home game that day.
And a good one. Clayton Kershaw back on the bump for the Dodgers in that game.
And a tough series this weekend against the Brewers. I've already played them a couple times this year. And what is it about Kristen Yelich getting all the talk? But my gosh, Cody Bellinger putting up very similar numbers.
Similar numbers and a higher batting average. And yeah, that's the way baseball goes sometimes.
Hey, but give credit to where credit's due. My gosh, Yelich. You look at the Marlins right now, and you got to think, my gosh, they keep Yelich there. They keep Ozuna there. If they keep Giancarlo there, what could that team be? But Yelich really came into the zone with that change of scenery, and when you get a hit in front of Ryan Braun, times are good.
And then in a totally different ballpark, Miller Park, just so, that backdrop right there is just so hitter friendly.
Most definitely. Milwaukee Brewers last year, though, making a deep run, being halted by the Dodgers in the National League Championship Series. Yasmani Grandal heading over there. They actually had a bomb off of Kershaw the other night.
Now batting number 7.
Grandal, the full-time catcher over there. Austin Barnes now for the Dodgers. But still some things remain. Bellinger mashing, Yelich mashing. Fulcher, 2 pitches that are up in the zone. 2-0 the count, Reed Gibbs. See how selective he's going to be here.
And nowhere to put him.
Nowhere to put him, quite frankly. You might just want to set the bat on your shoulder for one to see if this guy can calm it down and give you a strike. But do you want to take the bat out of hands of a guy that's batting over 400? Well, they just gave a tip of the cap to him over at third base, so 100% he's taken here. And a chance now for Fulcher to really come in and establish himself. He needs a strike.
Corners for Laverne are in. Anything hit to them, they might just throw home to get the force.
Fulcher goes up there, and they're going to take 90. All 3 of them will. They'll push across the second run of the game. So for what seemed like for so long something that was so much in Laverne's grasp can still be within their grasp, but they need something big right now.
And it was walks that hurt him. You had Burhans go 6 innings, no walks, 1 strikeout. You go to the pen, already 3 walks here in the 7th inning and a walk that brought in the second run of the game. McNeil coming in.
This one off the bat of Frederickson, foul. Probably foul by 2 feet of the first baseline, but ripped down into the corner. Frederickson today 0 for 3. He's got the bases loaded with 1 out. 0-1 count. Fulcher. This one batted back up the middle to the center fielder. Throw going to come home, and they're actually going to hold him at third from what I thought was going to be a tag up for a run, but nonetheless, Fulcher, he gets the job done here, records an out, and now he can focus on this guy and get out of the inning. It's going to be no easy task in Brancho.
No, not at all. Bases loaded for Brancho. 6 homers, leads the Tigers in that category. Looking for more RBIs on the year already, has 31 driven in. But yeah, I'm right there with you. That looked like it was a sure run coming on in and not forcing anything. They know that they're in control of a 2-0 game.
There's always kind of that mentality of never want to make the final out of the inning at third base. Home's equally as bad, so. But also, if you leave 2 stranded out there and feel like maybe you left 1 out there on the board, that's also going to be tough to swallow if this comes down to a 1-run game late. Fulcher goes to the change on the inside part of the plate. 1-1 the count, 2 outs, 2 on. Top half of the 7th, 1 pushed across here in the 7th to make it a 2-0 lead for the Occidental Tigers. Fulcher here in relief after he came in for Canedo, who was able to get 1 out, but he loaded the bases. This one punched out to right center. Is Paris going to run it down? Yes, he is. That ball hit about 365, but only to be caught for an out. So the Leopards get out of it. They give up a run, but all things considered, it could have been much worse for the Leopards, and they're going to hang around in this ball game and really have a chance to try and make a go at it down 2-0 here as we head to the bottom of the 7th.
Yeah, spacious ballpark right there. 372 to right center field. That ball hits 360. A lot of ballparks here in SCIAC Conference, that ball's gone.
Oh, at Occidental, that's a home run. That's an easy home run at Occidental. So, nonetheless, you got to play it as it lies. And as it lies here, you lie in a big ballpark. And for Laverne, they get the added benefit of that home field advantage. But Occidental, the one ultimately capitalizing here today, they have a 2-0 lead, and they got Ramirez on the mound that came off of a 1-2-3 inning. This kid's cruising.
Yeah, how about that kid coming out here in the 7th inning? Back-to-back games that he has gone into the 7th inning of work. Coming into the game, he has 58 total innings pitched as a freshman, a workhorse here. You know, you talked about the pitcher from Redlands a few years ago as a freshman coming in and shutting down Laverne in a no-hitter as a freshman. What are the similarities that you're seeing here with Ramirez as a freshman?
Well, in terms of stature, something completely different. Ramirez, smaller statured kid at probably 5'10", and Felix Minjar is 6'3", but very similar in terms of their approach and pitching downhill. They're staying low in the zone. Ramirez is good with his secondary pitches. He's going to a first pitch slider, and he's able to spot it up, and that really allows him to use his fastball in those key moments as a put-away pitch. So Ramirez, he's been pounding the zone. He's been relying on his defense behind him, and when you guys got guys up the middle that can turn double plays, which he's got the added benefit of today, you're feeling pretty good as a freshman out there.
Occidental's in good hands.
Laverne goes back at it. We'll go 5, 6, 7 with Shiota in the box for the Leopards, and it looks like we're going to have a pinch hitter for the Leopards. Who's on deck? Ramirez in a 1-0 count. This one hit to the left center gap. Is it going to get down? Yes, it is. It's going to go all the way to the fence. Oh, he's seeing 2. He's rounding 2, going to 3. He's going to have a stand-up triple for Shiota.
Ball hit into the gap. That's what Laverne has done. Gap-to-gap power. Shiota splits the center fielder and left fielder, going all the way to the fence. Easy 3 on that stand-up triple right there. Get yourself 90 feet away with 3 outs to play with.
Freshman on freshman coming out of Gar High School. Shiota going up against Ramirez, and he says, all right, I've seen enough of you putting me down. I'm going to put you in a position where I'm on third base with no outs here in the bottom half of the 7th, and it's going to bring up Charlie Verone, the pinch hitter. Verone, a local product coming out of Alta Loma and Los Osos High School. So Laverne making a change. Chris Liggett's going to check out. And if you're Luke Wetmore, how short is your leash now on Ramirez?
In a 2-0 game, I think you might keep him in maybe for a couple more outs, depending on if you had arms warming up in the bullpen. From our vantage point here, it's tough to see visitor dugout kind of blocking on the third base side here at Ben Hines Field. But it appeared that they had not too many arms warming up in the pen, so you got to see if anyone's ready.
Play a bit of devil's advocate. There's also that nature of everybody's rested. You know, after the outing yesterday, McCarthy going to CG, every bit of their bullpen's been rested for this whole week, so they've got guys. But if you're Ramirez, you've proven that you can get out even in tough jams. He had bases loaded and a runner on second in back-to-back innings, and he was able to keep 4 stranded. So Ramirez here, they're going to go with him for the time being. But if you're Verone, you're coming in, pitch hit situation, a runner on third. You don't want it too much and be a guaranteed out. You want to come out, see some pitches, find your comfort zone. And if you find something middle away, you punch it to right field for the hit. Ramirez again staying away and staying down as he's done all day, but now the count 2-0.
Talk about the versatility of Laverne players. Verone last year with Mount Sac only pitched, never saw an at-bat last year this year for Laverne. Already 8 at-bats and 4 hits.
Not bad, batting .500 for the transfer. This one's going to be up in the air. Is this going to be gone? It's going to be gone. Chris Verone. This game is knotted up at 2-0 after the big fly off the bat of Verone. Los Osos High School here to the University of Laverne. Coming up in a big way. 5th hit of the year in 9 at-bats. And what a big time for this kid to step up in a time of need.
And how about the confidence? Coach Winterburn pinch hitting Verone for Chris Liggett, a guy who's so capable of getting the job done. And Verone goes big fly here today on a tough ballpark and a tough day to clear the fence here at Ben Hines. And we are all tied up at 2 here in the 7th inning.
This is baseball, people. You gotta love it. Chioda with the leadoff triple. Second pitch, or rather third pitch that Verone sees. He hits it off of the inside part of the plate for the big fly, and this thing's knotted up at 2-0 and got a ground ball out up the middle. So 1 out, nobody on. So the crowd kind of calms down, but Charlie Verone.
Oh, we're back to square one again, 2-2. Ramirez still in here, but probably after a couple more outs or so, we're looking at a bullpen game.
Jacob Benson now going to step into the batter's box. So Ramirez, you hate to say, did he go one too many batters?
That's going to be the question.
But to the other side of things, should Burhams could have run back out. It's just the nature of how you play ball. Any given moment, right? And Benson here trying to seize that moment. 0-1 the count, 1 out, nobody on. This one up in the zone. Ramirez looking like he didn't finish his pitch there.
And those 2 hits to lead off the 7th inning. Ramirez fell behind Chioda 2-0, gave up the triple. Fell behind Verone 2-0, gave up the big fly.
And that's going to be punched into center field off the bat of Benson. Benson now 2 for 3 on the day. And it's going to bring up Granado, and it'll be Ryan Galan who will be on deck.
2 for 3 day for Benson in the 8-hole for Coach Winterburn. Reached base all 3 times. The second at bat reached on an E4. You know, a good thing in pitching duels is the big moments, the big hits, just makes them that much sweeter.
It really does. Talk about back-to-back big hits. Chioda to lead off the inning with the triple. Verone with the home run. Bike with the out. Benson back up the middle, and it brings us now to the 9 spot. Granado before we see the number 1 hole hitter on deck. Galan, who hasn't had a base hit since the first, had a tough out in the double play with the bases loaded, so possible redemption time.
And Galan was a part of both double plays. He was out at second base, got hung up to dry on the double him off at second base, and then bounced into 1-4-6-3.
Ramirez here working out of the stretch. 1-0 count, 1 out. This one punched in the left center gap. This is getting down. This is extra bases. This is scoring a run. This is going to be a stand-up triple for Lucas Granado. Timely hitting for the Leopards, and it couldn't have come at a better time. And we talked about, as this got later into the game and you saw this bullpen, could they then try to play the game of pitcher on batter matchup? But was this 1-2 inning long? Ramirez seemed like he was the guy up until now. I think it was the right decision to keep him out there, but just timely hitting by the Leopards to give credit to where credit's due. Lucas Granado, the latest to be in on the action with an RBI triple.
And now we see some action in the Occidental bullpen in the distance. Number 22 warming up for Occidental. The only reason why they didn't go to the penthouse is because, quite frankly, they weren't expecting this. They thought Ramirez had it, and he did have it. It's just you didn't have an arm up. You weren't prepared for something like this. He was cruising through 6 in the 6th inning, 1, 2, 3, right through 2, 3, and 4 of your order.
Well, and certainly as you head into the bottom third, you're feeling more confident. Not that this Laverne bottom of the lineup isn't capable, but certainly as a pitcher, you think, okay, my odds are better stacked in my favor. And after 78 pitches, he didn't seem like he was laboring. Command seemed to be good. But here, the game getting a little away from him. But still, a ground ball away of getting another out, closer to getting out of this thing. At the end of the day, you're still only down 1 run. By Laverne here looking to make it 4-2.
1 run, and yep, the 4th run 90 feet away with 1 out, infield in, trying to prevent that run, knowing that the bullpen is more than capable of shutting them down.
For Galan here to put a stick on this thing. Had a good hack back in the 1st inning. A couple of ground balls since then. Definitely puts contact to the ball. You got Sifford on deck. Second baseman running back. Throws it in, cut off by Fredrickson. So Ramirez now an out away of getting out of this and reducing the damage. But Sifford, the freshman, with a runner on third base. He's got Santa Cruz on deck with 2 open bags. So if you're Ramirez, you certainly don't want to continue to extend this by any means, but you might pitch a little differently, and it looks like Wetmore might be coming out to the mound to make a change.
Yeah, you had the lefty warming up in the pen. Max Sterner get a lefty on lefty matchup.
And that's exactly what you're going to see. Sterner, 10 innings pitched, 4.5 ERA on the season. He's given up 8 hits and 5 earned runs. But they're going to go lefty on lefty matchup here. The freshman Sifford against the sophomore Sterner. So it'll be Ramirez that checks out after 6 2/3.
Getting a round of applause from the Occidental faithful that traveled down here to Laverne, California for today's game, and well deserved. Going 6 2/3 here at Ben Hines Field. 3 runs, the 4th run still on the hook at third base.
A pretty good showing nonetheless for Ramirez. He's actually on the hook for the loss right now. So if he were to take the loss, it would move him to 6 3. But another quality start. And out of a freshman, what more can you really ask for, let alone anybody on your staff? You go out and you give a quality start with an offense like this for Occidental, that should put you in a position to win, 8 out of 10 times.
And on the flip side, Burhan's going 6 innings on his part. He's going to be involved in the no decision. You go quality start as well, and same fortune.
It's definitely, you're seeing both tales of the story there. And wouldn't you know it, Winterburn playing a bit of cat and mouse. So he's actually going to pull Sifford as things are pointing towards
Aaron Fong in the on-deck circle right there. Getting a look at Sterner.
Junior Fong batting .280. So at least according to the batting order, Fong looking like he's going to come in and hit, but this isn't to say defensively he could go to the outfield for Paris in right field.
And Paris might be asked to do a little bit more work. 2 innings, 8 and 9 in a tough Occidental team. Got 6 saves on the year.
Could. Or are we going to see Paris go to first base for Sifford for an inning, possibly 2, and then come into the 9th? And again, there's a reason Unfortunately, we're sitting up here and they're down there. These guys,
We'll
they
stick
should
to
know their
just
stat.
calling what happens.
There you go. But all signs are indicating towards they got options.
Good boy, Jarrett.
You got Santa Cruz on deck. Gosh, wouldn't you love to see this extend and maybe give yourself some cushion there? Most certainly would. Fong, again, batting .280 on the season. 6 RBIs for the junior. Sterner comes in, goes 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs. In the bottom of the 7th, the Leopards are able to push across a 3 spot here in the 7th. Al Hargrave alongside Billy Lopez, LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. Fong checks, doesn't go around.
Good patience by Fong looking at all 3 thus far. Sterner had to get up in a hurry and get ready. Got the count in his favor, ahead 2 balls, 1 strike to Fong.
Fong sees another pitch. So Fong sees 90, and you got Adam Santa Cruz up.
Exactly what you hoped for. First and third for Santa Cruz, looking for some insurance now that you already got the 3-2 lead here in the home half of the 7th.
And aren't you just getting the feeling like Santa Cruz is due?
Absolutely.
He's had a day today where tough to his standards, albeit he's played very well behind the plate, but just seems like a big moment for him to come in and just make a splash and put the exclamation point on this game. Pinch runner coming in.
Brandon Vogel coming in. Had some speeds for the Leopards on the base pads, make it a little bit more difficult.
Ball in the gap, potentially scooting him from first to home.
Seen a couple of times runners go first to home on a ball hit in the gap.
Or if you're Billy Hamilton, did you see that last week?
Inside?
No, this was a sacrifice fly to center field. He's on second base, and it was so deep to center field, he actually scored from second base to home.
Wow.
Dude's got burners. I mean, we've known that for several years. When he was in AAA for the Reds with the Louisville Bats, the dude had over 150 stolen bases in a season.
The only question with him is if he can get some contact and get on base.
Very true. Change of scenery for him now, playing for the Kansas City Royals in center field. He actually had a top 3 highlight last night on SportsCenter, but nonetheless, all things considered, dude can fly. But here, Vogel over at first, Granado over at third after his RBI triple. Santa Cruz seeing a 3rd straight ball, and still not a bad get if you got Perez on deck.
Pick your poison. Who do you want to go after?
No kidding. Got to go after 395 or 377, 41 RBIs or 38 RBIs. Good luck.
Top 2 in the SCIAC.
And now the base is juiced. So for Wetmore, you pull Ramirez, bring in a lefty-on-lefty matchup. They go put in Fong. Sees 4 balls. 2 straight walks. And this inning in particular, you had 2 starting pitchers that up until this point had been lights out. They hadn't been walking guys. And now you bring in relief pitching on both sides of the diamond, and it's been walk after walk.
Yeah, Sterner 9 pitches, 8 of them for balls. Only 1 strike thus far coming in.
You saw Sterner come in and he got you a quick strike in the first batter, but since then, tough to settle in. Sterner here, battling back, showing some resiliency. He goes 0-1, 2 outs, bases juice. Leopards lead 3-2. They've pushed across 3 in the bottom of the 7th. That leaves us at a 3-2 game. Here at Ben Hines on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. You're listening to Skyac Baseball. Nice changeup. Bottom fell out of that thing, and it falls in for a strike in Paris. I don't know what he was looking for there, but I certainly wasn't looking for that. A great pitch by Sterner.
Guy's struggling. 0-1 changeup, hit the corner.
It's good confidence out of the sophomore. Goes away here, tries to get Paris chasing on the pitcher's pitch. Paris does not bite.
And on deck is Shiota, who led off this inning.
This is where you gotta love the game. Sit here and you're twiddling your thumbs for several innings, and now you're sitting on the edge of your seat. This is baseball.
Got at least 2 more innings of intense tail end of a game.
Most definitely, but let's go deuces wild here. What do you say, Billy? 2-2 the count, 2 outs. Bottom of the 7th. Runners on first, second, and third. Leopards trail, or rather lead, 3-2. Oxy trails by 1 after giving up a 3 spot here in the bottom of the 7th. This one off the plate, let's go full.
From 0-2 to 3-2, you see the patience by Perez. Has not lifted the bat off of his shoulder at all.
You see Stoltenberg over there looking at his runner here, moving on contact. Moving on contact. Here we go.
All Renner's going to get a head start with 2 outs.
Paris, frustrated. Sterner, thrill. That's how you draw it up. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. There, Sterner gets the best of Paris and leaves the bases loaded, but not until the Leopards put up a 3 spot, 3-2 your score, Billy, at the end of 7.
Yeah, big pinch hit, 2-run homer by Charlie Verone. We saw Lucas Granado, who came in for the injured Tanner Browning at third base, come up in a big spot, a RBI triple to drive in Benson to give Laverne a 3-2 lead. And we are here, and it looks like Perez is going to go straight to the heel. Going to try to go 2 innings now and pick up save number 7 on the season.
Billy, let's just recap this for a second. Lucas Granado, Charlie Verone. I mean, all things considered, if this game pans out the direction that Laverne hopes it would, and you got to give away a game ball, my gosh. Verone comes up in that position. It's a 2-run bomb. He's only seen 9 at-bats on the season. He's a transfer. He's figuring out his, Laverne way. And then you have Granado, who steps in for an injured third baseman, comes up early in the game, gives you a heck of an at-bat to get back on base, comes back here, gives you an RBI triple, and then you have another pinch hitter come in Fong, who gives you a heck of an at-bat to see 90 feet. These pinch hitters for Laverne, just something else today. Chris Paris coming out to the mound, and talk about compartmentalizing. He's going to have to do it right now. Leave the at-bat where the at-bat was. Now you got to mentally change gears, and you got to go shut people down. So maybe he can take a bit of what he was feeling in the batter's box and try to redirect that back to the batters that he will be ultimately facing up on the bump. It will be Chris Paris coming up on the bump. Paris, who leads Skyac in saves. 28 innings pitched on the season. He's got a 2.2 ERA in his senior campaign. He's given up 7 runs in 28 innings, 31 hits. So a ground ball guy in Paris and an ultimate utility guy for Laverne and Scott Winterburn, seeing if he could go, see if he can go get him 6.
Yeah, and
6
a lot
outs.
A lot of defensive changes for the Leopards. Verone, who came in to pinch hit for Liggett, will replace him in left field. Vogel came in to pinch run. He's in center field now. Shiota moves from center to right field. John Bike, who was the DH, is now at first base. And moving in from right field to the mound is Perez.
So Chris Perez coming out to the mound, top of the 8th. Nobody on, nobody out. 3-2 your score. And they'll go first pitch, fly ball, out.
Shiota making the play on Andrade.
Now batting.
Chris Perez coming in and pounding the zone. And if you're Luke Wetmore, you've got to imagine that your first batter coming out with a new pitcher, you want to see some pitches, first pitch swing. That's tough. But if it's your pitch, I guess you go and you try to hack on it. Nonetheless, 1 out down for Perez and the Leopards. They're looking for 5 more, the 1-run lead. This brings up now number 24, Michael Ingram. 346 on the season. Middle infielder. Perez. The 0-1 count off the plate.
.22 ERA from Perez on the year. 6 saves, had 9 a year ago.
It's going to be another fly ball out for Perez. So what do? You go 4 pitches, you go 2 outs. And Chris Perez, he's really kind of a guy that's filled a role of that of somebody reminiscent to me of maybe Chris Arcos of a couple years ago. Mind you, Chris Arcos, dual sport athlete. He's a cross-country runner coming out of Chino Hills. Arcos came in, and he really came in just 8 innings for Laverne a couple of years ago. Arcos only 2 2/3 innings this year. But he was a guy that would come in, he would hit, play the positions out in the outfield. He'd pitch. And now Perez coming into that role as their guy, the ultimate utility guy that they can call on. And Perez here living up to every bit of that.
And you mentioned Arcos. Back-to-back years with over 60 innings pitched and only 2 2/3, but yep. 8 up innings for them.
Both seniors, both came in the same class. For Laverne, but here, Chris Perez. 0-2, 2 outs, nobody on, top of the 8th. Up and away, strike 3 as he gets them swinging. Does Patrick. Gets the side out. Perez cruises. Laverne 3 outs away. But they would love an extra insurance run heading into the top of the 9th. But we'll head to the bottom of the 8th, 3-2 the score.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Perez coming in and having to go 2 innings to get the save in this one. A very efficient 8th inning, sub 10 pitches in this one. A very good sign.
And for Chris Perez, what does that do for you? It really allows you that regardless of how the 9th goes, it might make yourself available even for the afternoon game today too.
100%.
And there has been times where Byrne has even gone as far to say, okay, I'll even carry this over into you starting game 3. So there's a lot of versatility that you can do there with Perez. It's something that he's accustomed to coming, giving you 3, giving you 6, or being on the front end and giving you the start.
Yeah, in sophomore year, Perez did have 13 starts in that season. This year, only 1 start, but yeah, quite the possibility he could start game 2.
Well, and not to mention a guy that's batting .375 for you on the season. What can't this kid do? And that's what you love to see out of a veteran and a senior. And somebody that you deem as a leader on your team. He just does everything that's asked of him.
Shiota led off the 7th, and good things happen. He's going to lead off the 8th inning.
Leading off for the Leopards, right fielder number 7, Brandon Shiota.
Shiota led off with a triple in the 7th, only for Charlie Verone to hit a 2-run bomb to bring him home. And you're going to see him and Verone here in the bottom of the 8th. So through 6 innings, both teams had only had 3 hits apiece. Now, the Leopards 7, Occidental 5, but of the most recent inning, Chris Paris sitting them up and sitting them down.
We had a 1-0 game up until the 7th inning. 3-2, a couple more runs added.
It's a bit of excitement, sizable crowd on hand here for the Leopards. Softball on the road today, not playing at their beautiful complex out there in right field today. A beautiful setup here in Campus West. Roughly 5 years old now since they made the move over here. It was 2 years that they actually played over at Mount Sac. And this was during that transition phase of where additional on-campus housing was actually put on main campus for the Vista dorms. And if you were to go there now, where home plate sits, there's actually a brand new dining hall of where the previous home plate used to sit on the previous Ben Hines field. Several years ago, that was the home park for the Leopards for some 40 years. There was a sense of nostalgia about that field that many people were apprehensive to part ways with, but when you come over here and you see this, you say, oh, this was for good reason.
You know, I'm 5 years old, as you mentioned, just a toddler is Campus West, but so much history already packed into those 5 seasons.
Think about that. You think about a conference tournament, win a conference title outright. They've been able to do some good things over here thus far, and they're right in the thick of it again this year as we head into the later part of season. They're going to have Whittier for a 3-game spot next week, and then to end with CMS, their neighboring city rival, and never a dull moment between those two. But you just kind of see how this is already going to unfold. Laverne very much positioning themselves after, if they're able to steal a game either today, right now, or in this afternoon game, they'll be pretty well positioned, I think, to finish in a top 4 and make a run at a postseason tournament title.
Got a pitching change. Louis Kim, another freshman for the Tigers, comes in. Sterner came in, faced 4 batters, walked 3 of 4, but got the huge out with the bases loaded to strike out Perez.
Sometimes that's better than anything else, but here with Louis Kim checking in. The Leopards will see a new face. So we look at Louis Kim on the season. He's got a 14.7 ERA, but only 3 2/3 innings pitched. He's given up 7 hits and 6 runs. So for Kim, just looking to come in and establish some confidence, and he's going to have to do it in the tightest of spots. So no room for error for the freshman coming out of Irvine, California, and Korean Lutheran High School down in Irvine. Good curveball here. Kim, but he's going to have Charlie Verone, who had a big 2-run home run an inning ago to tie this thing up, ultimately sparked the Leopards to put another one across to make it a 3-2 game. But it's Shiota who's over on first base with 1 on, no outs, as we'll head back to the bottom of the 8th here at Ben Hines. The Leopards looking to bring this series back to even after suffering a 5-2 loss on the road yesterday.
Verone, 9 at-bats all season long, 5 hits, big home run. Not a lot of playing time, but makes the most out of every single at-bat.
Some stellar numbers right there. You know, you always wonder when you and I guess, kind of, you're sitting here and you're wondering who's listening on the receiving end of this. And certainly You would like to thank the families, the parents of the players. Unfortunately, for some of those who are unable to be here for traveling reasons, but Jim Muncie up in Utah right now, tuning in his son Eric, player here for the Leopards. Jim, we hear you. Bummed you're not here. You're usually manning the snack bar down there. We miss you here today, but nonetheless, hopefully your boys here can give you a win. 2-0 the count to Verone.
At this point in the game, 8 innings in. Snack bar looking good.
Tell you what, food sounding great right about now, but these players are hungry too. Verone shows bunt. He pulls back. 2-1 the count after the strike from Kim. Comes in now getting a strike with 1 out, or rather no outs and 1 on. And Oxy trailing by 1. Kim needs to keep this at a 1-run game for some obvious reasons. But Occidental looking to hang in there. Verone, another hit. This is gonna barely fall foul, Verone. If that falls in, that is for sure a 2-bagger. And for sure moving Shiota over to third base. But it can only be a what if at this point. Verone now will see a 2-2 count.
I was maybe within inches of hitting the chalk down the left field line.
But clearly on the inner third of the plate, Verone
He's turning.
has the ability to get that barrel through. And as you said, yeah, he's turning on those balls. But here he sees something away. He's chasing it.
Now batting, first baseman number
So they
7,
sit down. Verone does Kim and the Tigers. 1 out, 1 on. And Bike at bat for the Leopards.
Bike with a base hit and 3 at-bats. Started off as the DH, moving to first base.
It's Benson on deck for the Leopards. Shiota diving back. Can Fredrickson dive in to stop that ball from going down the right field line? And Shiota probably for sure would have seen 90. But a good defensive play by Fredrickson to save.
That ball gets by Fredrickson. I think he's got him pinned down to the dirt right there.
Maybe that too. He's laying over the top of his legs a little bit. So Bike against Kim. He turns on that one. Hits the right field screen. Foul ball. 0-1 the count. 1 out. Bottom of the 8th. Leopards lead by 1.
The infield of the Tigers looking to perhaps turn their 3rd double play.
It couldn't have come at a more timely fashion than right now to put them back into the batter's box in the 9th inning, only down by 1. Would be the most ideal scenario for them. Go back to an out-of-town scoreboard update. Redlands up 2-1 on Cal Lutheran in game 1 of their doubleheader in the 9th. Pomona Pitzer wins game 1 of the double there against CMS 5-3. And Whittier up 6-5 in the bottom of the 9th on the road at Caltech. Tech ties it up, as a matter of fact, as we're giving you this update to make it 6-6. So Bike to second baseman, outstretched, able to make the play, and they go 4-3 for the out. 2 outs, runner on second, Jacob Benson coming to the box.
And Gibbs with a nice defensive play, ranging towards the first baseman's side of the infield. Going down to a slide on his knees, making the throw over to first base. Gibbs showing he could do it with the bat and the glove.
And to be frank and truthful about this, and this is with all due respect to Caltech, it's so exciting to see these days that they're not a guaranteed loss. Every game they go out, and I mean that seriously, they've come out and they've really established themselves in not just their baseball program, but also their basketball program as somebody that can really play spoiler alert. And I don't even know if you want to call it spoiler alert. They're coming out and they're beating good teams. So this is a team that's on everybody's radar now. Caltech really playing a role in the SCIAC Conference in a variety of different sports at this point.
You mentioned their basketball program, how actually this year they had the most wins since the 1950s, and the first time that they swept Laverne 2-0 during the regular season since '52.
Pretty incredible. And I mean, to take it a step further, it was just a couple of years ago, and they're going to say that's runner interference. They're going to give him third base in Chiota, and that was kind of what Fredrickson did, laying on top of him a little bit over at first. Nonetheless, ball goes to center field, so Chiota over on third. But it was just a couple of years ago that Caltech actually got their first conference win in basketball in 26 years. So really changed for the better. And it's brought in great continuity from top to bottom of this entire league to feel like there's, on any given day, as you know, Burham's told me earlier, anybody can beat anybody.
That insurance run now 90 feet away, but 2 outs here in the 8th.
Runner on third. Benson shows bunt for a potential squeeze off the plate. 1-1 the count. 2 outs. Runner on third. Let's give you an out-of-town scoreboard update for softball for Laverne. Down 7-4 in the 6th on the road at Whittier.
Having an up and down season for Laverne, around 500 in conference, still in the hunt for a postseason run.
Benson up the middle. They get the insurance run they need. And Jacob Benson, the junior, says, I've been there, I've done that, I'm going to give you more. Jacob Benson pushing across another 4-2 your score for the University of Laverne Leopards, leading this one at home here at Ben Hines. And for your Occidental Tigers softball team, for those of you tuning in, they're down 5-4 on the road at CMS, just a city over from here in the bottom of the 5th.
Benson having a tremendous April in a month that historically he kind of struggles in. Coming into this season, batting below 200 in the month of April, but this one batting into the 400s, picks up 3 hits today and a big RBI.
Billy Lopez doing his homework. Our stats are better than yours.
Thank you, Hal.
Granado. Has this guy got another knack for the flare again? We'll see. Granado, RBI triple. Hitting home Benson, just an inning to go to make it a 3-2 ball game.
Same scene is set up right here.
Yes, it is. This one fouled off. 0-2 the count. Kim coming in and trying to get a job done. Gave up a run.
That run
Not charged to Kim, though.
charged to Sterner. Sterner walked the first batter here in the 8th inning, then Kim would come in, strike out Verone, get Bike, then gave up the 2-out base hit by Benson.
Irvine, California native comes set. Does Kim. And an absolute hammer. Has Granado looking. And we'll head to the top of the 9th. 3 outs away from a dub. And they're sending Chris Perez out to try to get him 3 more and get him a 6-out save for his 7th of the season. You've been listening to SCIAC Baseball on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. Big moment there for Jacob Benson.
Absolutely, a big-time moment. Gives Perez a little bit of more breathing room now.
Couple of defensive changes for the Leopards. See if we can wrap them up for you.
Looks like Vogel will stay in center. Chiota staying in right. Barriga moving into left field, coming in for Verone. And that'll situate the outfield. Benson at short, Granado at third, Galan at second, Bike still at first, Santa Cruz as always behind the plate. And on the hill is Chris Perez, who now has a 2-run lead here in the 9th inning. Still a safe situation for him, looking for number 7 on the year. It's an Occidental team, though, 2 runs, bloop and a blast.
Leading off for the Tigers, number 3, Amon McNeil.
We've mentioned this Occidental team, 27 home runs, leads SCIAC. So they don't shy away from the long ball by any means. But they're going to do it against the best of them in Chris Perez. And we're going to go to the bottom of the lineup. We'll go 8-9-1. So all things considered, Occidental, if you're going to circle anything that's a bright spot, they got Gibbs as the potential 4th batter of this inning. He's 0 for 3 today, but we know what this guy can do in a large sample size. So you're hoping you can get a runner on and he can try to move some people around the bases.
Absolutely, and that's what they expect.
This one up in the zone for Paris. 1-1 the count. Nobody on, nobody out. Top of the 9th. Leopards lead 4-2. 4 runs on 8 hits for the Leopards. 2 runs on 5 hits for Oxy. Both teams an error apiece. But it brings us to here. Paris. Up the middle. Benson. He's got a glove. He's got an arm. He's got an out.
That heads up play by Bike, having an outstretched, keeping his toe on the first base bag.
And they go 6-3 on the ground ball. Leopards able to record the out. It puts them 2 outs away from notching this series back up to 1-1. Bauer in the bottom of the lineup. Paris goes 1-1 again. 1 out, nobody on. Paris working low in the zone here on Bauer. On deck is Zorn. Zorn 1 for 3 today. Bauer 2 for 3 in the 9-hole. Paris catching the corner on the fastball. Had Bauer looking. Now it's time to swing it. Down by 2 here in the 9th for the Tigers on the road. Tigers 4-3 on the road this year as this one's batted foul. Paris here ahead in the count. 1-2 the count with 1 out. Nobody on. Paris. And Occidental's going to see more life as they get a base hit to right field. Good job by Bauer. He's got 3 hits on the day.
Yeah, we've seen production from the bottom half of the lineup from both teams. Number 9 hitter Bauer, 3 singles. Number 8 hitter for Laverne, Benson, with 3 singles of his own. So bottom of this order doing damage. Not to mention, just looking over the box score here a little bit, the top 4 hitters for Laverne, only 1 hit. The rest of them have 7 of those 8 hits.
Pretty incredible. You're talking about bottom half of the order production, and for these pitchers, it really shows you there's no relief.
Absolutely not. Both teams deep lineups, and now top of the order coming up now for the Tigers, and Gibbs is in the on-deck circle. Barring a double play, he might have a chance to do some damage.
This one fouled off. 0-2 the count, 1 out, runner on first base, and Paris essentially could be out of this thing with a ground ball out. Ball hitting the production trailer.
That's one way to churn, Shane. Churning in the trailer. The only thing we need now is a camera at the trailer so we could get some good replay action on that.
Right? I want to see that. From our vantage point, can't see it. We're blocked. But we got the action right in front of us here too. That is worth seeing as well. This one batted up the middle. Is this going to be a fly ball out? No, this falls just in front of the center fielder. And now not only do you have Reed Gibbs coming up, but you got Fredrickson and Brancho on deck and in the hole, down by 2. Things are right where they need to be for Oxy if they want a chance to come back and make a go at this.
And did we expect anything less than these two teams? Tying runs are aboard now. Go ahead run at the plate, top 9. You got Perez on the mound, Gibbs in the box. Those are the two guys you want to see battling here.
Gibbs coming into today leading Skyac in batting average.
Looking for his first hit of the day as well.
Benson stays down, and they roll a 6-4-3 double play. Chris Paris can breathe. The Leopards can clap, and they can cheer because they got themselves a dub to get this series knotted back up at 1-1. Paris put 2 on in the 9th after he put 2 down to start the 9th. Everybody is able to now take a breath as Reed Gibbs grounds out to the 6-4-3 double play to end the game. Leopards take the win, a 4-2 score. This game highlighted by timely hitting and good pitching. Billy, what do you got to say?
Diego Ramirez, 6 2/3 for Occidental, went a little bit too far and got roughed up in that 7th inning, giving up 3 runs. Bottom of the order doing damage all game long. 7 of the 8 hits for Laverne coming from 5 through 9 in that category, and all runs coming from 5 through 9 as well. And for Occidental, just a little bit too little. They only got 2 runs. They were out cruising. They had the 1-run lead going into the 7th inning. Add that to a 2-run lead. You know, we're thinking about when they held up the runner at third, they could have had run number 3 right there. They played it a little bit conservative, you know, and they lose here by 2.
It's unfortunate. That's just really how the cookie crumbles, but it really was starting pitching up until, you know, the start of the 7th inning that kept both of these teams right where they wanted to be. A great start off of the hand of Diego Ramirez. He goes 6 2/3, gives up 3 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, and 28 batters faced. And to the contrary, on the other side for the University of Laverne, it was Burhans who comes out and also gives a very respectable start for the Leopards, going 6 and giving up no earned runs, 1 unearned in 24 batters with 1 strikeout. A lot of ground ball outs for both guys. But then when it got to the bullpen game, it was ultimately Laverne that prevailed. Coming in tight spots, it was Fulcher came in and shut the door. And then eventually Chris Parrish came in and knotted things up. You got to like what you see for Laverne going into game 2 of this double, right, Billy?
Oh, yeah. Paris coming in, 2 innings saved, 6 outs. Got a little bit of trouble into the 9th inning, but still another efficient inning as Occidental was trying to get quick, getting ahead of the count quickly and swinging at pitches early. 6-4-3 to roll over the double play.
Let's give you a couple of highlights for this Occidental team. Zorn goes 2 for 4 with a walk. Brancho had a run early in the game. He goes 1 for 4, and it was Bauer at the bottom end of the lineup going 3 for 4. Again, a good start by Ramirez, but it's not enough as the Leopards go with a 4-2 victory. Galan, he goes 1 for 4. Shiota, 1 for 3 with 2 runs and a triple. It is Bike who goes 1 for 4. Benson who goes 3 for 4. And then the huge pinch hit coming in and getting a 2-run bomb for the Leopards there in the 7th inning that ultimately made it a 3-2 game off the bat of Charlie Verone. And Lucas Granado, again, 1 for 2 coming in, trying to fill the void of a hurt player over on third base. and he steps up big with an RBI triple. Burhan's great start. Fulsher coming in, shutting the door, and ultimately Chris Perez notching his 7th save of the season. 4-2 your final score after a 5-2 loss yesterday. This series is knotted up at 1-1. Laverne moves to 11-6 in SCIAC play, and it also moving to 11-6 is Occidental in SCIAC play. The rubber match coming to here in about 45 minutes on LVTV3, Laverne Community Television. Hal Hargrave alongside Billy Lopez. It was fun. Thanks for tuning in.